Chapter 839, Side Story, Mythical Relic 4. While Mokli Hyana is treating Mokli Huiol to a whole lot of potatoes dipped in honey. In one of the areas where the puppet subjugation squad is lying in ambush, Haun half opens his eyes. Haun rises from his spot, and while gripping two short spears, sends a voice transmission to Zhou Yun, who stands far away and surveys the surrounding area through a magic artifact. Mississippi. I feel it. The puppets are coming. A little while later, starting from Zhou Yun, who hears Haun's voice transmission, a voice transmission rings out toward the entire subjugation squad. Soon, the subjugation squad can all see something like dark clouds surging in from one direction of Coldine Marsh. Why ying? Something like the sound of a bee swarm is heard from within those dark clouds. And as the dark clouds draw closer, the cultivators lying in ambush in Coldine Marsh have tension rise on their faces. Those dark clouds are, one by one, puppets of the heavenly being level, and while collecting the energy of Coldine Marsh, they are advancing in the direction where the squad is. Each time the swarm of puppets advances, Coldine Marsh has even its energy sucked away by the puppets, and is steadily becoming a complete wasteland. And then, the moment the swarm of puppets crosses a certain boundary, marked in Coldine Marsh, why ying? The integration stage puppets positioned here and there among the heavenly being level puppet swarm simultaneously detect an anomaly and make the puppet stop. Halt. Anomaly detected. Estimated to be cultivation divine power of cultivators of the 100 families cultivation system. Calculating ambush position, calculation complete. Click, click, click. The integration stage general puppets instantly pinpoint the positions where the cultivators are lying in ambush, then issue orders toward the countless puppets. Requesting reinforcements. Transmitting signal to the star-shattering stage marquee puppet. Signal reception, impossible. Spirit wave interference observed. Analysis result. Estimated to be cultivators of the novelist family method and legalist family method systems. Kiriririk. While handling countless puppets all at once, the general puppets recognize that they have fallen into an unfavorable situation. However, the general puppets quickly seek a solution and finish preparing to respond. Continuous connection with the factory is cut off. It is estimated that the factory will soon contact the star-shattering stage marquee puppet and request an investigation. Until the marquee puppet arrives, analyze the 100 schools cultivators' attacks as much as possible, and with information collection as the purpose, set the objective to delay for time. Having decided to grab the 100 schools cultivators by the ankle and hold out as much as possible, the general puppets form ranks and begin to pour attacks onto them. All units line up. Project concentrated firepower. And the battle begins. Quag-wag-wag-wang. Countless bursts of explosive light erupt, and countless heavenly being stage puppets spew beams of light and spew bombardment. Various mechanical devices they spew out are fired, and they press the cultivators and several martial artists of Heart Dao blooming, including Hone. And while a few Heart Dao blooming martial artists, including Hone, and a few integration stage cultivators, step forward and block the puppets' carpet bombing. From behind them, the cultivators of the 100 schools methods are protected and begin to display their respective divine power. The declaration of Cultivator Ga Beep of the legalist family method resounds across the area of Coldine Marsh. We, the human race, have, through an agreement with the ruling race of Coldine Marsh, the Leaf race, previously concluded a pact to protect the natural environment of Coldine Marsh. Based on the above pact, I hereby enact Coldine Marsh's Natural Environment Protection Law. From the time this statute is proclaimed onward, I hereby announce that any being that harms the natural environment of Coldine Marsh, regardless of race, phenomenon, or object, shall be subject to sanctions. As the statute is proclaimed, the legalist family method begins to exert power. Defendants, the puppets severely damage the natural environment of Coldine Marsh. Therefore, from this time you are referred to the tribunal and the trial begins. Do you have an objection? In Coldine Marsh, where only the flow of heaven and earth spiritual energy exists, the law of the legalist family method is added, and the puppets face the danger of all at once becoming entangled in the law. At the same time, the puppets seek countermeasures against the legalist family method as much as possible, and they proceed with responses that they have learned and analyzed through their experience until now. General Puppet, product number 86041. As the representative of the Coldine Marsh puppets, I file an objection. Through the general puppet's objection, the enforcement of the legalist family method begins to be delayed. But at the same time, other methods also begin to be displayed. Flash. One of the cultivators of the vertical-horizontal family method begins to appear within a cluster of light. Keying. Light runs vertically and horizontally, drawing a cross. From the center of that cluster of light, the incarnation body of a cultivator who practices the divine path method reveals itself and begins to proclaim. Be split apart. Continuous charge, Lenshong. In an instant, as the light of the vertical-horizontal family method cultivator shines on the puppets have their connection with the general puppet severed, and each of them begins to split for a moment into an independent self. The puppets instantly split into countless factions, and the general puppet 86,041 that steps forward has its representativeness fade in an instant. The characteristic of the naming family method is distortion through the manipulation of emptiness and substance, and manipulating the power of names. The characteristic of the legalist family method is the manipulation of law through the proclamation and manipulation of statutes. If the characteristic of the Confucian family method is oppression, sealing, expulsion, and negation, then the greatest characteristic of the vertical-horizontal family method is separation and union and gathering and dispersing. It seeks unity and division with respect to a certain specific force, and within such division and unity it gathers faith to continue cultivation and raise the realm. This can be said to be the greatest characteristic of the vertical-horizontal family method. The puppets split in an instant into dozens and hundreds of groups, and a dispute breaks out over who will represent the puppets. And within such countless separations and unions, the statute of the legalist family method begins to slowly tighten around the puppets' throats. However, even while splitting, the puppets keep pouring attacks onto the cultivators through settings that are laid in advance. Amid the puppets' barrage of firepower, the martial artists and the Immortal family method cultivators who protect the cultivators of the 100 schools methods grit their teeth. Haon turns back and shouts, "Colga, when will it be completed?" Colga, who learned the novelist family method. Revived as a wandering soul by Ongeum, he has activated the novelist family method with the body of a wandering soul, cast himself as a role within a story, and is collecting information. Having become a role within a story called The Child Who Understands Animal Speech, Colga made Ongeum's wandering souls into animals and made himself the protagonist, and nods as he listens to the information the wandering souls bring back. After a while, Colga releases the story and informs all the cultivators of the information he has found through voice transmission. I have found the part names and serial numbers of the internal mechanical devices in the puppets. Please tell cultivator Maklihyana. And Maklihyana, who is waiting in the rear, finally realizes that it is his turn to shine. Twerek. Maklihyana takes out a large book from within his robes. Right after, he uses the Confucian family method to transform his body into a string of characters, then generates within that string the serial numbers Colga sends and records them into the book. Soon, the book is densely filled with the serial numbers of the mechanical devices. Afterwards, Maklihyana sends a message to his demon beasts. Immediately after, Badger and the Rabbit's 7 heavenly lords take out flags and wave them from the 8 directions of Cold Een Marsh. At the same time the arrangement to activate the Confucian formation is set, Maklihyana's social authority begins to spread over the area. Oppression activate. To-do. All of Cold Een Marsh's heaven and earth's spiritual energy, and the strange powers and chaotic spirits, are pressed down. In an instant, a lull unfolds between the puppets and the cultivators. The cultivators have the source of their power, including their spiritual energy, suppressed and cannot do anything, and the puppets all pause for a moment while switching their power source from spiritual energy to electricity. Click, click. The puppets all convert their power sources at once. If this continues, the cultivators of Cold Een Marsh will remain in a state where their power is suppressed, and it will become a situation where they simply die. Just then, the cultivators of Cold Een Marsh all pull talismans from inside their robes with resolute expressions and activate the talismans. Flash. From within those talismans, illusions of themselves with the power they have previously sealed with the Confucian family method come out and begin to block the puppets again, and the balance of the battlefield becomes taut once more. However, if this continues, the cultivators gathered in Cold Een Marsh will ultimately be annihilated the moment the talismans are completely spent. But in the next moment, Maklihyana's divine power begins to be displayed. Twerek. Mokli Hyuna rapidly flips through the booklet with the serial numbers written in it and begins to display the naming family method. In the naming Tao, I seal the gods. Why Yang? Mokli Hyuna's spirit speech at ascending metamorphosis. That spirit speech activates the naming family method to an extreme, treats the serial numbers written on the pages Mokli Hyuna gathered as names, and begins to call them wing, 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 wing. At Mokli Hyuna's calling, among the steam engine devices inside the puppets, the devices connected to the serial numbers in Mokli Hyuna's hand begin to hum and resonate. Mokli Hyuna is well aware of his role on the battlefield. The device serial numbers found through the novelist family method. Those serial numbers are for the steam engines inside the puppets, and among them, they say they are the serial numbers of the turbine-related products. Recalling the plan Zhou Yun set up, he carries out the operation quickly. The naming family method can also treat a product's serial number as a name, handle it, and seal it. And that means, I, Mokli Hyuna, borrowing the social authority of the owner of names, command. All existences that answer the names I have just called shall, without exception, be sealed. If I call the names, I can seal the puppets. Turbines in an instant. I may not be able to pull the turbines out completely, but at the very least, I can steal the energy the turbines have. Quaduk, quadadududuk. The pinwheels inside the puppets that run the steam engines all pull out at once and are sealed into the book Mokli Hyuna holds in his hands. The integration stage general puppets succeed in manipulating the circuits inside their bodies to block him, but the rotational force of the pinwheels is stolen away, and the steam engines become unable to operate. In an instant, the tide of the battlefield changes. The crude, brutish puppet legion that forces a war of attrition on the human race now becomes unable to keep running the moment it consumes its stored electricity, and it comes to a stop. Now it is the puppet side that is forced into a war of attrition. Quagwagwang. The specialty of the puppets, human wave tactics and firepower bombardment, is sealed. At the same time, the statute of the legalist family method begins to gradually bind the puppets, and at last, the puppets receive punishment by the laws. This tribunal hereby sentences the puppet army to death. Bang, bang, bang. As the legalist family method cultivator, Ga Beep's punishment is pronounced, the numerous puppets begin to collapse in heaps. Their power devices are completely destroyed, and the integration stage general puppets have to spread barriers and use every last bit of their remaining power to block the enforcement of the laws. And all of this happens about one shurchin after the battle has begun. Kugagugagu. Even the general puppets that resist the law for a while by spreading a light curtain ultimately have their light curtain dismantled and collapse when their stored electricity runs dry. Seeing that sight, Haun and Mokli Hyuna, on Jiam, and all the cultivators all shout in unison. We won. Haha, you puppet bastards. Patsts. Mokli Hyuna's Confucian family method is released, and the heaven and earth spiritual energy returns. Mokli Hyuna summons back and gathers up the demon beasts he scattered in the 8 directions, and he clicks his tongue. The 100 schools cultivation system. When their powers overlap, it has an enormous synergistic effect. They are such incredible systems, but why is it that in the purple gold realm they cannot spread their influence like that? At Mokli Hyuna's question, Mokli Huiol answers. Ultimately, it is because of the Heart Tribe. No matter how many 100 schools cultivators gather, cover each other's strengths and weaknesses, and stack their might, it does not work well on the Heart Tribe. Why is that? Ho ho. That is because the Heart Tribe's power lies in resistance. From the beginning, they are one specialized in smashing existing laws with their own laws. Compared to the solid Immortal cultivation system that the Immortal family method possesses, the 100 schools cultivation system has aspects that are a bit weaker, so it cannot help but be weak to the Heart Tribe. You can see the Heart Tribe's greatest characteristic as chaos. No matter what cultivation system you use to establish order, the Heart Tribe's power, close to primordial chaos, becomes difficult to block. Heek. Mokli Hyuna clicks his tongue and asks, then do people like the Heart Tribe have no incompatibility at all? That is not necessarily so. Their individuality among themselves is so strong that they become each other's incompatibility as well. Above all, the puppets you just faced are incarnations of pure violence and destruction. So if you bring a whole lot of puppets and do human wave tactics and a firepower battle, even the Heart Tribe can only become exhausted and die. Then in the end, aside from external things like puppets, Does that mean no other system itself can hold a compatibility advantage over the heart tribe? That is not necessarily so. For example, the Buddhist family method that explores the original nature of the heart and the shaman family method that draw on the power of higher beings are on the favorable side against the heart tribe. Oh, only then does Mokli Hyana let out a sigh of relief at the fact that there is a way to stand against those monster wretches called the heart tribe, or martial artists. That method I gained through strange powers and chaotic spirits in the Mokli clan library back then, the canvas of myriad forms and star genesis. Recalling that the method belongs to a category of the shaman family method that draws on the power of higher beings, Mokli Hyana feels a bit reassured. I hope I can learn the shaman family method or the Buddhist family method someday as well. Mokli Hyana recalls the weakness of the Confucian family method. The greatest weakness of the Confucian family method is bandits, meaning those called martial artists or the heart tribe. If the shaman family method shows good compatibility against those people, then his weakness can disappear. If my weakness disappears, I can live an even safer and more comfortable life. Mokli Hyana's goal is to inherit Banta's seat, become a sacred master, and live in contentment while lounging around and eating without working. To pacify the purple gold realm, where rebellions break out all the time, he cannot have something like a weakness. Ho, Taoist Mokli Hyana will surely be able to do it. Thank you for the compliment. By the way, when do we return? Soon the human race Grand Alliance will prepare for a large-scale movement. Please do not worry. I can feel it. This aura of Taiji is clearly. It is when Mokli Huil and Mokli Hyana are chatting. Kugagum. On the battlefield that ended in victory, a single puppet drops down, and Haun's face turns pale with shock. Immediately after, the puppet thrusts its radiance sword toward Haun. Quagwagwang. The ground trembles. The entire space shakes, and Haun is flung away and vomits blood. A martial artist of heart Dao blooming, is it? To survive after taking my single strike, you have nearly reached the esteemed 1 level. The puppet's strange voice echoes throughout Cold Een Marsh. You cannot go anywhere. I do not permit it. Kariric. From inside the puppet, an overwhelming barrier spell erupts and covers the entirety of Cold Een Marsh. The space inside Cold Een Marsh and the space outside are cut off. I am the factory's marquee puppet, the Black Marquis. Remember it well. It is the name of the superior puppet that you will soon have to serve after. Evolving. As if a dragon race cultivator was remodeled into a living puppet. The Black Marquis reveals solemn dragon horns and dragon scales, radiates a half-human, half-dragon appearance, and oppresses everyone. Mokli Hyana is terrified at the space being cut off, and Onjium comes to where Mokli Hyana is and blocks the oppression pressing on him. What do we do? The space is cut off. The teleportation formation can't activate. Mokli Hyana stamps his feet and trembles. However, Onjium looks toward Haun with a calm face. Calm down. We can escape. Even a star-shattering stage puppet still doesn't know everything about the 100 schools yet. What do you mean? I'm saying the space is cut off. Calm down. And look at Haun. Onjium calms the terrified Mokli Hyana and quietly points toward Haun, who has rolled away. And Haun, who has been knocked away, gets up from the spot while spitting blood. His chest is caved in and both arms are broken, but Haun is clearly alive. Mokli Hyana feels puzzled. Mokli Hyana knows that the skill of the person called Haun is close to the star-shattering stage, but what can he even do in that state? He definitely heard that before being deployed into the operation. A cultivator of another 100 schools system will take responsibility for their return, but Hyana doesn't know the detailed principle because he dozed off a little since the explanation was boring, so he can't help but be terrified. However, just then, Haun shouts, letting out a lion's roar with all his strength. Substitution. Kugagugagu. The moment Haun's lion's roar bursts out, the surrounding area starts to turn pure white. Only then does the marquee puppet notice the strange phenomenon and try to block it, but it is useless. Kugwagwang. Where the marquee puppet pours out attacks, turns pitch black, and the cultivators who are there begin to vanish directly into another dimension. Onjium smiles and explains. Inyang family method. The biggest characteristic of the Inyang family method is substitution, reversal, conversion, and unity. If we substitute the space of this Cold Een Marsh with the space at the human race's base, we can escape well enough. How is something like that possible? The space is cut off. Even if space is cut off, there are things that are not cut off. For example, connection. Connection? The yin-yang family method is based on dual cultivation. That is, it is performed by two or more people. In other words, with one lover positioned at the human race's base and the other lover positioned on this battlefield, the plan is to substitute space through connection once the battle ends. Then, no matter how a star-shattering stage puppet cuts off space, the return will not be affected, and everyone can flee safely. And probably, Onjiam looks at the martial artist called Haon and speaks. The person who is lovers with that Haon is the main party of the yin-yang family method. I see. Only then does Mokli Hyuna realize they can escape safely, and he feels relieved. As expected, the 100 school system is amazing. Ha ha ha. Hey, Black Marquis. Go eat taffy. Ha 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 ha. You stupid puppet-like. TL/N. Go eat yod. Korean taffy has the meaning of get lost. Mokli Hyuna, in a greatly excited state, flips his middle finger toward the Black Marquis before space is fully substituted into the Human Race Grand Alliance headquarters. It is that moment. Clang. Mokli Hyuna's shadow instantly turns into black iron chains and coils around Mokli Hyuna, and the people around Mokli Hyuna all return to the human race's headquarters, but Mokli Hyuna remains in that spot. Hot. Soon, the effect of the yin-yang family method disappears completely, and inside the area, only Mokli Hyuna and the Black Marquis remain, facing each other. With quick judgment, Mokli Hyuna immediately begins to flatter the Black Marquis. It was with the meaning that you should eat sweet taffy and live long and in good health. Long live the Black Marquis. Long live, long live. Chapter 840, Side Story, Mythical Relic, 5. Between Mokli Hyuna and the Black Marquis, an awkward silence briefly lingers. Mokli Hyuna rolls his eyes around and thinks about how to get out. The Beast Scroll or the Rabbit's 7 Heavenly Lords are damn it. Other than the clothes created with social power, all the other Dharma treasures, and even the Beast Scroll moved together, didn't they? Am I really the only one who didn't move? Mokli Hyuna realizes there is practically not a single life-preserving means left to him, and he bites his lips tight. The Black Marquis also looks around. From the result of the celestial energy calculation device, it seems this was not a trap, but simply that you were left behind due to an unexpected mistake. Is that not so? Ha! How could that be? I stayed behind on purpose because I wanted to see even a little more of the Black Marquis's glorious visage. I was absolutely not left behind by mistake. I will pass down this glorious meeting to my descendants from generation after generation. I have seen the Black Marquis's venerable face enough, so this humble one will be going now. Then, I'll be off. Right after Mokli Hyuna finishes speaking, he quickly turns around and tries to fly away. But by the attraction force that bursts out from the Black Marquis's grasp, he gets pulled straight to the Black Marquis, and his nape gets caught in the Black Marquis's hand. The Black Marquis lifts Mokli Hyuna with one hand as if picking up a kitten, and they emit a sinister gleam from their eyes. Come to think of it, you have a special constitution. I conducted a primary search with the celestial energy calculation device, and inside your spirit lies an enormous interdimensional space, or rather, a world. A fellow with unusual qualities like you will be of great help to the evolution of the puppets. I will take you to the factory, have you undergo a detailed search, and try modifying you. Qua, that can't happen, damn it. I'm getting out of here. Chwerik. Mokli Hyuna quickly seals himself into the second dimension, then the first dimension, turning into a string of characters and slipping out of the Black Marquis's hand. He then sticks to the ground and quickly flees from the Black Marquis. The Black Marquis fires and detonates about 1 or 2 shells toward Mokli Hyuna, but only the terrain features that Mokli Hyuna sticks to get shaved away, and there is no damage at all to Mokli Hyuna, who has turned into a string of characters. Ha! Do you think it will work? If I turn into a 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional form, what can you do? What can you do? I say. Quadaduk. However, before Mokli Hyuna's sneer even ends, through attraction force, the Black Marquis lifts the entire surrounding land up into the sky and rounds it together into a ball, and no matter how Mokli Hyuna moves, he becomes unable to escape that land floating in the air. The Black Marquis sneers and speaks. So you are a 1-dimensional fellow. Then, sleep. Quadaduk. In an instant, the land clumped into a sphere gets crushed within extreme attraction force, and Mokli Hyuna instantly loses consciousness inside the extreme point of intense gravity. Heek. When Mokli Hyuna comes to his senses, a familiar ceiling comes into view. It is the training room of Banta, inside Banta Castle of the Purple Gold Realm. Because of Banta's will deploy in Mokli Hyana's consciousness and train him every time Mokli Hyana sleeps. His consciousness has been pulled to Banta Castle. In front of him, Banta, having transformed into a female body, sits in a lotus position and waits for Mokli Hyana with a gentle smile. You are here, my disciple. Then let us begin today's cultivation. Master, please help me. The moment Mokli Hyana sees Banta's face, he brightens and asks for help. This disciple is captured by the puppet legion of a being called the Mad Lord in the vast cold realm. They say they will use me for utterly vicious experiments. Please, save this disciple. Banta seems to think about something at Mokli Hyana's words, then speaks. At my level, there are ways of being able to glimpse fate to some extent. The fact that you are captured by the puppets right now will instead act upon you as a great blessing. Rather, through it, you will gain reliable reinforcements, so do not be too afraid. Be but master. Well, in any case, the puppets of that fellow called the Mad Lord have the problem of body modification, so if you get modified while conscious, it can be a bit scary. Do not worry. If it is scary, you can just stay unconscious the whole time. Does that mean I need to keep staying together with master? Could it be you dislike it? Banta looks at Mokli Hyana's reaction with a slightly sullen expression, and Mokli Hyana shakes his head. How could that be? This disciple likes it. But, that is enough. It is a joke, Banta says as he strokes Mokli Hyana's head. Anyway, there are signs that one of the ancient ominous calamities is going to awaken near the Purple Gold Realm. So the Purple Gold Realm is not safe either. That is also why I sent you to another middle realm. Keeping you by my side is dangerous as well, so I will send you back to your body. And starting today, I will not call you for the time being. I also have to go toward the Araya domain and the Monas domain to prepare for the ominous calamity. Master, are you going to be all right? Isn't it dangerous? Master? What is wrong? At Mokli Hyana's worry, Banta's expression turns a little blank again. No, it is just you asking me not with an anxious heart that. If the Sacred Master disappears, you will have to take charge of the Purple Gold Realm as the Sacred Master. But with a goodwill purely worried about me. You seem to be the first. Thank you, disciple. With you here, I absolutely will not lose. Yup. Banta's eyes, slightly bitter and deeply moved, mix together, and he pulls Mokli Hyana strongly into his arms. Do not worry too much about the puppets. Until the matter is resolved, I will seal your consciousness, and I will make you float only inside the alternate space within your extreme ghost path body. There will be gains there as well, so until your comrades come save you from the puppets, you may explore your inner world. Thank you, Master. Mokli Hyana, with his face red, conveys thanks to Banta, and Banta, with a confident face, strokes Mokli Hyana and continues speaking. Now, in any case, it seems your fear toward the puppets has faded a little. Then, let us have a pleasant lesson together with your master. Mokli Hyana is thus able to carry out this and that cultivation regarding the Confucian family method together with Banta. Quorum, the other world where the human race Grand Alliance is staying. Inside the Ghost Mother's tomb. A corner of that alternate space shakes. I said my fiancée, Hyana, is still left behind. Send me back. Kook. It's an unfortunate matter, but if through the Yin-Yang family method divine power we conduct space substitution in a short period, I do not know about me, but the miss will go through great pain. On Jium, while twisting and gripping Haon's neck, glares with a grim gaze at Haon and Zhou Yun, who are tied through the Yin-Yang family method and cast space substitution together. I do not care about your pain. If you are a cultivator to begin with, are you not supposed to always take it for granted that you will go through a certain degree of pain? We have fought on the foremost line while our whole bodies, our integrated Tao domain, our spirits got torn apart by the puppets. But the woman called the chief strategist is now saying she cannot bring back the main forces again because she is a little afraid of that kind of trivial pain. It is not that kind of trivial pain. We know, the miss must carry out the task. And for the sake of the task, she is being pressed down by the task with that uncomfortable body. For the miss, using a cultivation method once is not a simple matter. Every time she cultivates, the task presses down on the young lady even more strongly. Well, I do not exactly get it, but I think I roughly understand. Onjiam speaks while looking at Zhou Yun and Haon with eyes mixed with a sneer. I already knew from the moment I saw you that you are not an ordinary human. Rather than human, You have a presence closer to a wandering soul. She mutters in a cold voice. What you call task is probably some kind of fate. Some fate you absolutely must accomplish in this life. But I also have a strong fate, so I know well. I also know well what kind of curse a strong fate is. I understand that the weight of fate acts as a curse on you, and you suffer pain. But, because of that pain, are you going to turn away from your responsibility? Under On Jium's cold gaze, Haun falls silent, and Zhou Yun bites her lip. We trusted your operation, entrusted our bodies, fought, and came back having achieved a great victory. Because there was a gap in your operation, Hyuna, my fiancé, fell alone on the battlefield and was left behind. The persons responsible for the operation are clearly you. And if you truly bear responsibility on your shoulders, then instead of worrying about curses of fate or whatever, should you not take responsibility? At her sharp outburst, Zhou Yun opens her mouth. Martial artist Haun, please stop. We are sorry to Lady On Jium. You shouldn't say you are sorry, but that you will take responsibility. I am not in a good mood right now, so we will take responsibility. But right now, realistically it is impossible. Given the behavioral patterns of the puppets, they are not going to remain there unnecessarily and vent their anger on Cultivator Mockley until now. They have probably taken Cultivator Mockley to the factory, will modify him into a puppet, and try to research the Confucian family method. That is, to bring Hyuna back, we must know the location of the place called the factory. Where is that factory? I apologize. The factory is not a single place, but split into thousands, tens of thousands, or more branches, and the branches move by themselves and travel every day. So, we cannot know the exact location where Cultivator Mockley has been moved to. Additionally, because they disturb the celestial energy tracking of cultivators through something called a celestial energy calculation device. Kwon. On Jium directly slams Haun down and gets angry. When you say research the Confucian family method, that means they won't kill him right away. Yes, rather than immediately killing a cultivator who learned an unusual 100 families method and modifying him into a puppet, they will most likely go to a upper-grade factory and conduct detailed research. So if we only need to track the locations of the hundreds of upper-grade factories rather than the tens of thousands of ordinary factories, still, it will take time, and in the meantime. So, for unusual people, they do some research first and then modify them, meaning there is time? What about in the case of a special constitution? If it is a special constitution, it is a constitution that appears in legends. On Jium bites her lips and speaks. In our immeasurable life Buddha religious order, he is a guy we put up as a saint candidate in order to make him a saint. He is a guy with that level of constitution, and he is also learning at least 2 of the 100 families methods. Then wouldn't they send him to a somewhat special place even among the upper-grade factories? Zhou Yun hears her words and thinks deeply about something. A special constitution, 2 of the 100 families methods. If it really is such a special constitution, then perhaps. Zhou Yun speaks with a hardened expression. He may be taken to a place called the Overseer Factory. Overseer Factory. In the distant mythic age, they say the Mad Lord controlled all puppets and factories through a special fortress-type puppet called the Wonderfully Mysterious Fortress. But the Wonderfully Mysterious Fortress collapsed in the Mad Lord's era, and the Mad Lord's puppets that remain now created one more fortress-type puppet that, like the Wonderfully Mysterious Fortress, oversees all puppets and factories. That is the Overseer Factory, which oversees all factories. They say in the Overseer Factory, endless knowledge about puppets, experiment information, and modification information is all gathered, and moreover, innumerable star-shattering stage puppets, and the latest equipment to evolve and repair them, are packed in and entrenched. If it is such a place, it would be perfect for researching the legendary constitution you speak of. So, there is a high possibility that Hyuna is in the place called the Overseer Factory? Yes. On Jium reads the celestial energy. Mockley Hyuna still exists in the vast cold realm. Does the fact that he didn't return to the purple gold realm means Ban Ta thinks we can sufficiently resolve this level of danger ourselves? But from what these guys say, it's a crazy place where dozens of star-shattering stage puppets swarm together. In that case, I see. Ban Ta, are you telling me to take out the move I've kept hidden? On Jium bites down on her lips. Even if that celestial energy calculation device, or whatever interferes with celestial energy estimation, the human race Grand Alliance's celestial energy estimation ability should be enough to find just one place like the Overseer Factory. Help me raid the Overseer Factory. Just the location of the Overseer Factory is something the entirety of the Heaven Tribe are searching for through celestial energy estimation and continuously sharing in real time to each race. But, even so, the Overseer Factory is too dangerous. There are hundreds of star-shattering stage puppets alone, and that is only the number that has been revealed. If you add in the hidden puppets too, the star-shattering stage puppets would be in the quadruple digits. At this level, it is enough to contend evenly with even a Sacred Vessel stage Sacred Master. If the vast Cold Realm's Sacred Master was not a special existence, the vast Cold Realm would have already become a world of puppets. I too wish to raid the Overseer Factory and end this war, but, realistically, no race is going to want to step forward first. Hundreds of star-shattering stage, no, anyway. Ongeum is left dumbfounded by the puppet grand army beyond common sense, and is at a loss for words. But she clicks her tongue, regains her senses, and speaks again. If it is that much, I will take out the card I've kept hidden and help you. The human race can take the lead and, through this opportunity, wipe out all the puppets. By hidden card, you mean? I am a saintess with a special position even within the immeasurable life Buddha religious order. It is not merely to the extent of communicating with a true immortal. At her following words, everyone present is shocked, and their gaze toward her changes. I can summon a true immortal who believes in the immeasurable life Buddha. Of course, I also know the vast cold realm is in a special state, and that makes it hard for the true immortal to enter. But if we properly build an altar and borrow power, we can draw down the true immortal's divine power at least once. However, this has a limit on the number of times, and because she has a record of summoning a true immortal once in the previous battle with Li Xiaohua, Ongeum now has about 2 summons left. If she borrows the true immortal's divine power one more time now, that too will be treated as summoning a true immortal, and the count will be deducted. It is only because the environment of the vast cold realm is special, which makes it difficult for a true immortal to intervene, that they cannot descend directly and can only channel their divine power. It is not that the true immortal ignores Ongeum's request and refuses to answer the call. Because of that, Ongeum feels like bloody tears are about to spill at the deduction of the precious true immortal summon count. Still, since I'm going this far for his disciple, I can buy some of Banta's goodwill. Banta's goodwill, assuming I use it well, is as useful as the right to summon a true immortal. Of course, even so, something that is precious is still precious. Ongeum sheds bloody tears, and all the cultivators in the hall begin to look at Ongeum again with respectful eyes. Zhou Yun, perhaps thinking that bringing down the Overseer Factory has become a realistic objective, starts asking for detailed information with a serious face. What is the type of the true immortal's divine power? What degree of effects can it bring? If it is combined with the unique strengths of the human race, what kind of synergistic effect could we expect? I will explain them one by one. First, I must receive permission from the upper ranks. Ongeum puts aside her regret about the precious summoning right, and begins to establish a concrete plan to rescue Mokli Hyana. First, if there is a shrine of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order, guide me there. I need to contact the religious order's heaven immortals for a moment. Ongeum bites down as she thinks about this situation, where she can only break through by using the true immortal summoning right. Since I'm going to use a summoning right anyway, within 1 week, within 7 days and nights, I will rescue him. Vast Cold Realm, main headquarters of the puppets. The Overseer Factory. Inside that Overseer Factory, the Black Marquis and hundreds of star-shattering stage puppets gather and look at a human who is submerged naked inside a single tank. It is Mokli Hyana whom the Black Marquis captured and brought in. Strange, why does the human have no trace of sex? There is a record that if one mistakenly consumes the Black Sea Cucumber, a ghostly creature of the purple gold realm, such side effects can appear. I see. Then is that human female or male? We still cannot know. Even if we try to read the genetic information from the 4-axis stage and ascending metamorphosis stage cultivators onward, due to immortalization, the genetic information is altered, so it is difficult to read. Moreover, those 100 schools cultivators have far less known information than the already known immortal family cultivators, so it is hard to understand. Is that so? Then, for now when we remodel it, it is right to set the form as a female-type puppet, yes? For now, that is the best method. A defining feature of the puppet legions and factories is that they try to apply, to all puppets, human culture and racial characteristics to some extent. It has no meaning for puppets below the star-shattering stage. But from the star-shattering stage and above, they separate something that can be called a self to some degree in order to understand that meaning, and through it, they tend to strive to find meaning. This is a characteristic of the Mad Lord system puppets, handed down from the wonderfully mysterious fortress that the being called the Mad Lord created in the distant mythic age. Since the final purpose of the wonderfully mysterious fortress was to make puppets perform a play that imitates humans, and use that play as a medium to pull in the space-time of the past, all puppets are set up so that they cannot help but imitate humans. However, after the Mad Lord's death, the final purpose of the wonderfully mysterious fortress was not passed down to the puppets of the present age, and only the actions for the sake of that final purpose remain. Since it has a pretty outward form, it will become a puppet with a lot of popularity. Moreover, the aptitude that human possesses is extremely special. If we study that trait and apply it to other puppets, our Legion's combat power will evolve qualitatively to an even higher level. The Black Marquis looks at Mokli Hyuna, whom they captured, and speaks proudly. Another star-shattering stage puppet hears the Black Marquis's words and shouts to the research puppets. Research puppets. How much longer must the research on the human race go on? Please wait. First, we confirm the record that this human's talent is the legendary constitution called the Extreme Ghost Path Body. Now, based on this record, we plan to explore the alternate space inside this human's body. As soon as those words end, dozens of puppet arms descend into the tank containing Mokli Hyuna and cling to Mokli Hyuna's head. From now on, we will send spirit waves through to investigate the internal alternate space and install spiritual energy circuits inside the alternate space to begin alternate space erosion. With the Overseer Factory's technical power, within approximately 7 days and nights, we can have the circuits erode even the core parts of the alternate space and complete the investigation. Chiyik. Mokli Hyuna, still unconscious, has the puppet circuits erode everywhere in his body and his soul, and even the alternate space within himself. And as circuits are laid into Mokli Hyuna, and as his circuits and the Overseer Factory circuits connect more and more, the command code of someone, which is hidden deep inside the Overseer Factory itself and inside all the puppets there, begins to reveal itself. That command code begins to reveal itself faster and faster the more Mokli Hyuna's circuits and the Overseer Factory circuits connect, and in the span of the 7 days and nights that the research puppet spoke of, that command code will completely reveal itself. So, in the end, if you wish to achieve great completion in the Confucian family method, exploration of personality is going to be essential. Do you understand? When Ban Ta's teaching ends, Mokli Hyuna feels his consciousness returning to his body in the vast cold realm. The body onto which Mokli Hyuna's consciousness is projected slowly grows faint in Ban Ta Castle. Personality. How do I have to explore it, Master? Haha, do not worry. When you return to your body, you will be able to sufficiently explore personality. Heek. That said, when I return to my body, wouldn't the puppets be in the middle of modifying me? Ha ha ha. Did I not say I will send you with your consciousness sealed so that you do not see such a sight? No. Then are the puppets really modifying my body? No. More than that, if you send me with my consciousness sealed, isn't that just the same as being locked in a prison? Do not worry too much. Your inner self is too wide to be called a prison. Use this chance to explore in detail, study personality, and then come back. Master, then isn't my body really being remodeled right in? Now then, let us see each other after this master resolves the ominous calamity, my beloved disciple. Pat it. Before Mokli Hyuna can even finish speaking, Ban Ta sends him back to his body. Walla. Master, please tell me, am I being modified? However, no answer comes, and Mokli Hyuna realizes that he has already entered a deep darkness. This place is. It is a familiar place. An endless darkness. The distant sound of faint chains that comes from far away. My inner world. It is the inside of Mokli Hyuna, who has the special constitution called the Extreme Ghost Path Body. Master really is something. Yeah, rather than watching myself get modified with my own eyes, it is better to be trapped here. But even if you say the prison is wide, what am I supposed to do in a place like this with nothing but darkness? Mokli Hyuna lets out a long sigh and looks around. After I ascended to the purple gold realm, I haven't even seen Jegal Mikhail, and there is nothing to do. What am I even supposed to do? Just then, Mokli Hyuna looks into the darkness. he realizes that something is shining brightly there. It is the first light Mokli Hyuna has ever seen this abyss. Curious what that light is, Mokli Hyuna flies over there, and soon he can confirm what that light truly is. That is. What in the world? It is one enormous world. It is not round but flat, like the concept of the world called the decaying corpse realm that Mokli Hyuna heard from Banta. And on one side there is a dazzling blue-white light that has become the sun, and on the opposite side a bundle of chains reflects that light and has become a moon that emits a gentle glow, taking its place on the side opposite the sun while leading something like a cluster of stars. Mokli Hyuna swallows as he recalls that Banta once said there is a world inside his body. Crazy, so that was really true? Faced with something absurd, Mokli Hyuna flies over this world, trying to investigate what kind of world it is. That's when it happens. Mokli Hyuna suddenly feels a force strongly pulling him from inside the world, gets sucked into the world, and soon loses consciousness. After some time, the place where Mokli Hyuna regains consciousness is inside a room he has never seen before. However, because of a strange sense of déjà vu, Mokli Hyuna does not notice what is strange for a while. It looks too much like my room. Only after some time does Mokli Hyuna realize that this messy room, reeking with a stale odor, is far too similar to his own room, and he tries to grasp the situation. Is this the world inside my inner world that I just got sucked into? And it doesn't feel like my body. He doesn't even need to look in a mirror. A big mass of flesh is attached to his chest. After all, just what kind of situation is this? For now, it seems like I can activate the Confucian family method to some extent, but it clashes a bit with the unidentified spiritual power inside my body. To figure things out, Mokli Hyuna goes out of the cluttered room. After some time, Mokli Hyuna comes to know that the building he is in is a temple. A temple? Then, am I living in a temple? Is the original owner of this body a monk? Or just a believer? Or, it is when Mokli Hyuna is trying to understand the situation. From the side of Mokli Hyuna, who has become a young man approaches and taps her shoulder. Finally, you came outside, Tae John. Pardon. Mokli Hyuna stares at the man who tapped him with a blank look. Is that my name? Tae John. Just now, some suspicious energy of unknown origin seemed to fall from the sky, so I ran over in case you got affected, but seeing those vacant eyes and that heart essence that is still lazy as ever, it looks like you were not affected at all. This time, have you come out after 10 days? You stink a lot, so at least wash up this time. Pardon? Wait a moment, eek. Without even listening to her answer, the man hoists her up onto his back and starts flying towards somewhere. Mokli Hyuna notices the memories of this body's owner, a woman named Tae John, gradually waking up, and he starts absorbing information. The owner of this body is Tae John, a child who got picked up and was raised in this Buddhist sect called Grand Nirvana Temple, and this man's name is Hyen Rang. He is the successor who will inherit this Grand Nirvana Temple. Chapter 841, Side Story, Mythical Relic 6. Splash. Hyen Rang lifts her and flies away, then plunges her straight into the hot spring behind the mountain. Quaff. It's hot. What an exaggeration. Anyway, wash up properly, junior sister Tae. I have to attend the Gigio Dharma assembly, so I'm off. After finishing, he quickly flies off somewhere again, and Mokli Hyuna gurgles and flails in the boiling hot pool, unable to come to his senses. Save me. Save me, please. This isn't even at the level of a hot spring. Mokli Hyuna tries with all his strength to draw out the power of the Confucian family method and the naming family method, but no matter what he does, the power of the methods do not rise. It is then, flash. All of a sudden, he notices an energy he has never seen before surging inside his body, and he quickly calls it out to strengthen his body. Mokli Hyuna's body is quickly engulfed in golden light, and he soon escapes the heat as his body starts to recover. I lived. This is the Buddhist family method. Mokli Hyuna feels the unidentified spiritual power within his body and thinks. This feeling is the power of the Buddhist family method. The Buddhist family method is gentle and warm, and at the same time, like a strange wheel, it endlessly cycles through the spirit vein within his body. It's a distinctive method. He runs the Buddhist family method for a while, and little by little reads the memories of Tae John, the owner of this body. Let's see. The owner of this body is Tae John, and, when she was young, the Buddhist nun named Bonghua, the owner of the temple, brought her in and raised her, and she has a senior brother-junior sister relationship with Haiyan Rang, Bonghua's successor. Rather than an ordinary temple, it feels strongly like a kind of cultivation sect. But even if it is a cultivation sect, it isn't that famous, and aside from Taiyueljan and Haiyan Rang, there is no one at all who visits, so it's a place that's just being abandoned. Haiyan Rang, the temple's successor, runs around diligently after the death of Bonghua, the previous abbot, and Taiyueljan seems to live a life of shutting herself in her room and lazing around every day, knowing that no matter how much she tries, it has no real meaning for the temple. It seems her hobby is using up the spirit stones the previous generation accumulated and staying stuck in her room while reading new novels or books. There isn't much information about the world, and only talk of novels or fairy tales fills her head. Starting from classic fairy tales like the story of an old man who could not raise his realm, so he accumulated an altar and pierced the heavens, and the story of Lord Heavens and Lord Stars, and the story of the senior brother and junior brother mountain divine spirits. All sorts of miscellaneous fairy tales fill Taiyueljan's memories. Both Haiyan Rang and Taiyueljan are around the Qi building level. No, this kid, even though she only lazes around in her room, her realm is similar to Haiyan Rang, who works so hard? Huh. Damn, she's a kid who rots her talent away. More importantly, Cultivation feels like he is about to explode with frustration because there is no useful information at all within Taiyueljan's memories. No, 80% of her life is just shutting herself in a room, roasting and eating chestnuts while reading novels. Why does someone like senior brother Haiyan Rang even keep this thing alive? If it were me, I'd beat her up and kick her out right away. Where is the information worth knowing about this world? With so little information he can get through Taiyueljan, he vents his frustration and thinks he needs to gather information quickly. Fine. First, let's wash up and go out and get some information from other people. Let's see. After thoroughly cleaning up Taiyueljan's body, Cultivation grows used to circulating the spiritual power of the Buddhist family method and heads to the nearby village he glimpsed briefly when he flew up with his senior brother. The innate true methods. I can't use the naming family method and the Confucian family method, but when I focus, I can slowly use consciousness. And strangely, I can see signs that the innate true methods are trying to return to womb. Among the mortals in the village, Cultivation looks for someone who seems easy to burrow into with consciousness, and with his consciousness, picks one of them. It is then, Shurik. Cultivation enters the mortal's body in an instant. Huh, what is this? Is switching bodies this easy? No, more than that. Cultivation feels an enormous discomfort and repelling force from within that mortal's body. Why does this mortal's body reject me like this? No, should I say it doesn't fit? It feels way too uncomfortable. This won't do. I need to read their memories quickly and return to Taiyueljan's body. After making a quick decision, he smoothly reads the mortal's memories, copies only the information that seems necessary into his consciousness, and then quickly returns to Taiyueljan's body. Heek. Cultivation feels an enormous comfort and coziness inside Taiyueljan's body. Why is it this comfortable? It even feels more comfortable than my original body. Feeling a strange puzzlement, Cultivation slowly reads through the information he obtained from the mortal. This world is a world called the Chained Light Realm, Sogongjit. It is a world with a similar size and similar conditions to ordinary decaying corpse realms. It is called so because during the day, a pale blue-white light called sunlight shines over, and at night, a chain-like moon called the chained moon rises. The greatest characteristic of the Chained Light Realm is religion. The three great religious orders of the Chained Light Realm. The grandest among them is the Star Moon religious order that serves the chained moon. The second is the Great Forest religious order that serves sunlight. The least grand is the Jegal religious order that serves a divinity called Mythical. It seems the three religious orders steal followers from each other and fight over control of this continent. And in the neutral zone that those three major religious orders cannot conquer from each other, Buddhist family and Immortal family sects like Taiyueljan's Grand Nirvana Temple seem to be settled here and there. The moment Cultivation hears information about the Jegal religious order, he lets out a deep sigh. Found you, Jegal Mikhail. So you were playing God here. Then the identity of the fourth earthling that Ongeum is looking for becomes clear. With this, Ongeum shouldn't bother me as much anymore. Of course, Cultivation still has to clearly prove the existence of Jegal Mikhail. All right. First, Let's find Jigul Mikhail Shrine and try praying once. Mokli Hyuna finds where the shrine of the Jigul Mikhail religious order is and walks there slowly. Human race territory. Inside the Ghost Mother's tomb. At the shrine of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order built there, Onjiam communicates with a true immortal for a while and receives a firm promise that the true immortal will unleash a single strike. However, because the vast cold realm is a special domain, they cannot wipe out the puppet legion in one go with a direct attack, and it seems they will help them with a supportive immortal art. Since even that is enough, Onjiam can set down her worry about rescuing Mokli Hyuna to some extent. But Onjiam's face does not brighten. She takes out divination tools like a divination bowl and divination sticks from her storage scroll and begins to cast a divination. This is not something she learned after coming to this world, but something she learned half as a joke from her mother, who is a shaman on Earth, and then evolved in this world. Because this divination is far more accurate and concrete than the usual Heaven Tribe's celestial energy calculation, it is also the reason she has been able to survive fairly well even after betraying the one chi of the primordial chaos religious order in Black Ghost Valley. Clack. Onjiam calculates celestial energy through the divination sticks, and as she divines the future, her expression hardens. A great inauspiciousness hangs over the not-too-distant future. However, it is not about the puppets. Rather, it is something familiar to her. Lisioa. It seems Lisioa will soon follow after her. That monstrous thing. I didn't know a 3 Great Ultimates cultivator could be that strong. And the size of this great inauspiciousness means that Lisioa has become stronger than last time. She probably broke through to the integration stage. Last time, she was at the Grand Perfection 4-axis stage 3 Great Ultimates, but now she is surely at the integration stage 3 Great Ultimates. With a high probability, having reached the Grand Perfection integration stage, her actual power, combining her constitution and talent and so on, will be stronger than Onjiam, whose real strength nearly reaches beyond the integration stage. If her actual strength is beyond the integration stage, and if you add the ability of her talent, the Wind Painting Sword C Impermanence body, then with a high probability, she is at the quasi-star shattering stage level. If Lisioa chases Onjiam into the vast cold realm, it is certain that Onjiam will not be able to put up any resistance at all and will be chopped to pieces, becoming Onjiam Tartar. If I don't want to die, rescuing Hyuna is one thing, but I also have to seek my own way to live. If Onjiam is the saintess of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order, Lisioa is the saintess of the one chi of the primordial chaos religious order. Of course, the one chi of the primordial chaos religious order does not have a position called saintess, but since the true immortals who believe in the one chi of the primordial chaos dote on her immensely, Lisioa is a saintess in all practical terms. If Onjiam asks a true immortal for help, the other side will also ask for help, so the status advantage she has no meaning. With a high probability, if she meets Lisioa, she will be slaughtered before she can resist. But there is an opportunity for a breakthrough. Onjiam recalls her master, Gongmyo Minhee of Black Ghost Valley. Someday, go to the vast cold realm. In the human race territory of the vast cold realm, there exists a ghost path inheritance left behind by an existence from distant antiquity called the Ghost Mother. Her master is someone who cherishes her disciple. Because her teacher cherished her like a mother, Onjiam was able to fill, to some extent, the absence of a mother's love she could not receive while her mother stayed confined in a psychiatric ward. Master, Gongmyo Minhee is like a mother to Onjiam. And so, Onjiam had no choice but to abandon her. If she stayed together with Gongmyo Minhee, she felt like she would forget her real mother on Earth and end up treating Gongmyo Minhee as her real mother. Maybe on the day Onjiam betrayed Black Ghost Valley, the reason Gongmyo Minhee quietly let Onjiam slip away while pretending to pursue her is because she noticed that feeling in her. Recalling the story Gongmyo Minhee passed on, Onjiam begins to resonate with the Ghost Mother's tomb. This Ghost Mother's tomb is, with a high probability, an alternate space that the human race of the vast cold realm made by altering the Ghost Mother's inheritance that Gongmyo Minhee talked about. In other words, inside this space, Onjiam may be able to approach the Ghost Mother's inheritance far more easily. I will survive. Onjiam sets gaze able to escape the future where Lisioa butchers her to death. I will survive and return to my mom again. Gongmyo Minhee said this. Jiama, your talent is clearly one of legends. They say the legendary Ghost Mother also had legendary talent. And this master, too, received an inheritance about the Ghost Mother and studied it. If your master's research and your talent combine, when you go to the place in the vast cold realm where the Ghost Mother's inheritance lies, if you operate this formula, you will surely be able to reach the Ghost Mother's inheritance. From within her memories, Onjiam begins to recite the formula Gongmyo Min he taught her for reaching the Ghost Mother's inheritance, and begins to communicate with the Ghost Mother's tomb. TSDSDSDSDS. Onjiam's mind resonates with the Ghost Mother's tomb and begins to melt into it. Her consciousness sinks into deep darkness, and at some moment, she arrives at a strange space. This place is Relic. A faint image seems to brush past the corner of her eyes. In the image, someone wearing black clothes weaves rules in the darkness and murmurs. Through bridal creation, for the sake of later generations, I will make a space where inheritances can be left behind. Someone's voice. Somehow, like her mother's voice, somehow, it is a familiar voice, avoiding the eyes of the heavens, so that they, too, can continue their story for later generations. The true identity of the Ghost Mother's tomb is, it is a gateway leading to the space that someone left behind for later students. This is a space of inheritance. Receive what we leave here, and you, too, pass it on to later students. All of a sudden, Onjiam feels as if the someone in that illusion turns to her and meets her eyes. The someone smiles faintly. With dark blue eyes, they look at Onjiam and smile warmly. At the same time, this is a space of memories. Leave behind the traces you remember as well, so that your stories are remembered for 10,000 generations. For some reason, Onjiam feels that person's eyes are truly comfortable. I, too, will leave the story within my memories here. Pat it. At the same time, the illusion cuts off, and Onjiam realizes she is falling into an endlessly spread out black space. This place is the Ghost Mother's inheritance. Is it an alternate space where you can leave an inheritance or store items? But is this the end? Do you just come and it is then? Thud, 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 thud. She suddenly feels goosebumps rise across her whole body and turns around. Far away, from behind, an existence wrapped in immense death is approaching her. This is. Onjiam feels herself seized by fear without realizing it, and swallows hard. Each time that existence comes closer, her body, which learned the ghost path method and absorbed piles of ghost souls and wandering souls, trembles violently, and the ghost souls within her body begin to struggle like crazy. Moreover, because Onjiam's body is also in a state of being half-ghostified, she cannot help but feel an unknown fear toward the death-like existence approaching from afar. Half-ghostified, she trembles with the instincts of a ghost. Thud. And finally, the identity of those footsteps reveals itself before Onjiam's eyes. It is a mad ghost king who pulled out the heads of 18 fellow cultivators of the same level and went around with them embedded into his shoulders as if on display. The mad ghost king opens their mouth. I am Seoli. And the moment that ghost king opens their mouth, she realizes she cannot possibly endure it. That being is death. The death they contain is a direct counter to her. The million wandering souls inside Onjiam, and Onjiam herself, are engulfed in instinctive fear and terror as a ghost. Later student who seeks to obtain this inheritance space. If you wish to obtain Madam Ghost Mother's inheritance, surpass me, the examiner. Onjiam and the wandering souls inside her body all scream at once, seized by fear. A big ghost. Huawei, I don't want to die. From the shadow of that mad ghost, the attraction force of the underworld stretches out and pulls her in. At the appearance of a monster that is no different from a living gate of the underworld, Onjiam screams and begins to run away like mad. Chapter 842, Side Story, Mythical Relic, 7. Hiik. Onjiam resonates with the wandering souls inside her body and runs away to avoid Seo Li like mad. And after she opens some distance from Seo Li, she finally notices something strange. If I think about it for a moment, that Examiner Ghost King, the amount of the power it has isn't that big. No matter how generously you rate it, it's only around the mid 4-axis stage. On average, it is a Ghost King at the early 4-axis stage level. Why do I, a grand perfection of the integration stage, have any reason to run from merely something like an early 4-axis stage? It's just that the death it carries is thick, so the wandering souls inside my body got frightened for a moment. After thinking it over, she realizes her odds of winning are quite high. It's just that I got startled for a moment and panicked because of a compatibility issue. If I just don't get scared, I can definitely win against something like that. After making a quick decision, she firmly steadies the wandering souls inside her body and flies back towards Seoli. Huh, I got scared for no reason. Wait there, you ghost king bastard. And then, when Onjiam faces Seoli again. Hiya, it's a big ghost. Onjiam again feels her mind turn blank, and in an irresistible fear, she runs away once more. And only after she opens distance from Seoli again does she realize it. This isn't just a difference in compatibility. Even if there is a compatibility difference, it is far too big. Regardless of the oppression of realms, the aura of death wrapped around that crazy ghost king is at the level of someone who has faced a god of the underworld and came back alive. A cultivator who learned the ghost path method, especially a cultivator like me, whose body underwent ghostification and became half human, half ghost, absolutely cannot resist that. For now, there is nothing she can do against that monster. First, I need to go out for a bit and think. There's nothing I can do. A good Dharma treasure. Alright. I need to bring in the Nether Crossing ship and deal with it. Onjiam decides to suppress that ghost king through Dharma treasures or external divine objects and tries to go out of this space. Then Onjiam recognizes that something is wrong. She can't get out. Hey, wait a second, hey, how do I get out of here? Onjiam screams wildly into the space in the darkness. She tries to read the celestial energy or to grasp the space with her consciousness, but it doesn't read well. Instead, only a pale illusion brushes past before her eyes. Only now do I understand Master's intent. The reason they tried to taxidermize us is because if we cannot even surpass their touch, we can never reach the heavens. Rather, it would be better to be taxidermized by Master's hand and live happily for countless years before going on. I too will inherit their intent and establish my will in this space. To the later student who seeks to receive the inheritance. The more of a junior you are who learned the ghost path method, the more useful it is to discover this space, so overcome the memories and recollections inside my memory, which are an extreme counter to the ghost path method. If you cannot even do that, then, just like Master's intent, being taxidermized in this space forever would rather be better than facing the heavens. If I can't beat that, I have to be trapped here forever? As Onjiam stares blankly and feels the will of that illusion, the illusion soon vanishes, and her face twists violently as she screams. Quaff, Great Forest Heavenly Lord, Flower Plant Heavenly Lord, Great Sun Heavenly Lord, Torch Candle Heavenly Lord, Pearl Jade Heavenly Lord, Great Sea Heavenly Lord, Rain Dew Heavenly Lord, Woolwoon, Make Jean, please save me. But in whatever structure this space has, it seems that neither the wisdom nor the will of any true immortal can reach it. Onjiam falls into despair, gets trapped in the darkness, and wails endlessly. Mokli Hyuna comes to understand what the Jigyo Dharma assembly that his senior brother, Hyen Rang, headed toward is. So the Dharma assembly held by the Jigal order is called the Jigyo Dharma assembly. He realizes it when he sees his senior brother Hyen Rang sitting near the shrine of the Jigal order and asking questions about the benefits that come from joining the Jigal order. Man, I was just going to pray at the shrine and go back. If I get caught by senior brother, it seems like it will be troublesome. While Mokli Hyuna is thinking it over, he suddenly feels some strange calling near the shrine of the Jigal order. What is this calling? Why is it? That call feels like something Mokli Hyuna can answer if he wants to. Mokli Hyuna first makes thorough preparations so that even if he answers that call, he can be ready, and then he answers the call. Sayat. At that moment, Mokli Hyuna realizes he has entered a strange pure white space. Where is this? Rihyunjok, you succeeded in entering your deep layer world. Congratulations. You are. Jigal Mikhail. Mokli Hyuna is startled as he looks at Jigal Mikhail, who sits on a golden throne at the front of the white space, wearing a black robe. Where have you been all this time? No, more importantly, as expected, you didn't die back then. At Mokli Hyuna's words, Jigal Mikhail makes a sorrowful expression. Rihyunjok, you now went beyond the heavenly being stage to the four-axis stage. No, is it the ascending metamorphosis stage? Anyway, since you have reached that realm, you will know what state I'm in. What is that supposed to mean? In this space, your consciousness isn't restricted, so sense me. Then you can understand what I'm saying. Pardon? Mokli Hyuna senses Jigul Mikhail with his consciousness, and only then notices something is strange. Are you Jigul Mikhail? Or are you? That's right. Rather than Jigul Mikhail, I may be nothing more than the information body he left behind. Jigul Mikhail speaks with a complicated expression. My ability is to leave an imprint on some target, and that target acts according to the imprint I engraved. To be precise, the real Jigul Mikhail left an imprint on you right before he died. He engraved his own personality as an imprint and then died. If that's the case, the me here isn't the real Jigul Mikhail, but only the personality of Jigul Mikhail that remains in your heart essence. In other words, I'm only a split personality that arose in you, and not the real Jigul Mikhail. But listen, if I thought of myself as just one of your split personalities, I would have melted into you. However, inside your heart essence world, I pondered and contemplated for hundreds of years, and I researched my authority. As a result, I learned an interesting fact. Maybe all of us who fell from Earth into this world aren't existing souls, but beings whose personalities were draped over the authority of some being. My ability, and your extreme ghost path body, your older sister's wind painting sword C impermanence body, and your fiancé on GM's ghost face killing heaven body, all of them, I found the possibility that some being split up the authorities they possess and then attached our existing personalities onto those authorities. Yeah, we aren't the real beings, but are nothing more than fragments of some being's authority that inherited the memories of the real us. Even the most lowly wraith is better than us. They have a soul at least, but we have no soul. We are merely authority fragments. For that reason, I endured without disappearing inside you, but Rihyunjak. Now it's getting hard to endure. The fact that I'm not the real me, the fact that not even a soul exists in me. What should I do? No, what should we do? Jigul Mikhail looks at Mokli Hyuna with pained eyes, and Mokli Hyuna, with a grave face, slowly opens his mouth. What are you even saying? Please explain it so I can understand. Jigul Mikhail lets out an even deeper sigh, and Mokli Hyuna has to rack his brain because he can't understand what nonsense he is talking about. Jigul Mikhail, who stares blankly with a drained face for quite a while at Mokli Hyuna's attitude, takes a deep breath and starts speaking again. So, I will start by explaining what personality is. Since my ability is related to personality, what is personality? What is it? Personality, you see, is a kind of manual that composes and defines an existence. It's like an instruction manual that introduces a product. Jigul Mikhail's explanation begins. In the darkness, after trembling in fear and despair for a long time, Ongeum can finally collect herself. So in the end, I have to bring down that crazy ghost king with my own strength. If so, then I have no choice but to do it. Accepting the situation, she starts to devise a countermeasure. First, what is that bastard? It has powerful death. Then is that an underworld reaper, or something that came from the underworld? No, that's not it. If it is, there's no way it would only be at the 4-axis stage. What kind of soul is that exactly? No, in the first place, can something like a soul even exist inside this other space? After thinking for a long time, she decides to go and investigate the Ghost King a few more times in order to know her opponent. Have you come again? Don't run away and fight. It's a big ghost. Once. I don't want to die. Who wants to die? Come here. Twice. Hiyaaf. Hiyahag. Now you can't even speak. What are you even trying to do with a mind like that? 3 times. Kiaaf. 4 times. It's a big ghost. Now you have come back to the beginning. Fight properly. 5 times. And so, after several such painful observations, Ongeum is able to roughly infer the general nature of that Ghost King. With a headache that comes as a recoil from witnessing immense death, she presses and massages her throbbing head and thinks. It's not a soul. The being that made this space projected the history of some being that exists within their memories. Ongeum knows from the advice of heaven immortals that immortals of the Earth pathway can project history and the like. She still doesn't know exactly what Earth pathway means, but anyway, the owner of this space projected history. However, she notices something strange. If it's projecting history, it has to do only what it did within that history. In other words, no matter how many times I approached, the reaction should have only came out repetitively. But that guy is strange. The result of her approaching and investigating several times. Each time, that Ghost King's attitude changed to fit the situation. It's not a simple projection of history. That is rather Ongeum grasps the true nature of that ghost king, and her eyes gleam. Personality. The personality itself of a figure from the past that exists in the space owner's memories was projected. Only then does Ongeum grasp a clue for dealing with that ghost king. If the opponent is a personality rather than a soul, it's a bit easier to deal with. If it's a soul, I have to attack the spirit itself. But if I aim only at a pure personality, curses work better. She realizes what she needs to use to deal with that ghost king. Wandering souls, or the ghost path method obviously won't work. But what about a curse? If it's a state of only being a pure personality, it means the opponent is not holding the essence called a soul, but is in the state of an information body called a personality. If it is an information body, then if she puts the information of pain and resentment poison into a curse, which is an information transmitting medium similar to an information body, and succeeds in contaminating the opponent's information, she can collapse the opponent. If I throw a curse filled with pain at a level that crazy monster can't handle, I can win. Borrowing the power of the ghost face killing heaven body, Ongeum starts squeezing out countless curses, and her eyes shine with hope. The world inside Mokli Hyana's heart essence world. For that reason, personality is, in the end, an information body. We are nothing more than an arrangement of information. Even after hearing Jigel Mikhail's explanation, Mokli Hyana still doesn't understand it well. What are you talking about? Then in the end, am I not me? Wrong. I'm saying we don't have souls. Isn't a soul an information body? If I were on Earth, I would think that too. But a soul is not an information body. I can say it for sure because after coming to this world, I learned that there exists a clear essence called a soul. No. Then what exactly is a soul? That. Jigel Mikhail grows a little timid and scratches his head. I don't know exactly either. But there's one thing I can be sure of. We have no souls, and are in a state where there is only authority and personality. In other words, maybe, no, with a high probability. Our true originals are on Earth, and we who are here are nothing more than fakes. And Mokli Hyana still can't understand what he is saying. So what are you saying exactly? Quaaf. Jigel Mikhail becomes furious. Inside the alternate space, Ongeum's curse hits the ghost king called Seoli. Quajajijik. A red lightning flash flickers, and countless pains and resentment poison stab into the ghost king, but the ghost king only chuckles. Spicy. What a good snack. But your understanding of curses is not actually deep. You do not even know what a real curse is. Now, I will tell you. A real curse is what you call something like this. Quagwagwang. When the ghost king stomps its foot, strange, horribly formed flowers bloom around the ghost king and change into a flower garden that fills a radius of 1,000 li. Ongeum panics and runs. But the next moment, when the ghost king reaches out its hand, the flowers in the flower field scatter all at once, change into tens of billions of petals, and gather in the ghost king's grasp in a shape like a sword. A real curse is something you can understand only when you dig into the root of personality. Take it. Entering heavens beyond the path. Fallen flowers cannot return to branches. A gigantic flower sword falls down onto Ongeum. Ongeum tries to dodge, but the curse that makes up that sword persistently tracks Ongeum and clings to her, and Ongeum screams and loses her reason. Only the instinct made of fear towards Seoli screams. It's a big ghost, and tears her away from Seoli. After a while, Ongeum comes to her senses, and she lets out a groan at the curse poison contained within that dreadful curse. Ayakak. If not for the ghost face killing heaven body, a talent specialized in curses, the ghost path, and the devilish path, even someone at the integration stage would have gone mad long ago from this pain. Hiyak. And amidst the pain, Ongeum is able to gain an enlightenment about curses. Pain creates personality, is that it? The world is pain. That is why, through the pain that exists in the world, information takes on form, becomes concrete, and forms a complex system. Within that complex system, personality is formed. In other words, pain is the raw material that forms personality. Does that mean what is called the self is pain itself? She embodies the enlightenment about personality and pain contained in Seoli's curse, and sinks into thought. Mokli Hyana's heart essence world. So, the residents in this world are all, not people who truly exist, but something called personalities? That's right. And Mr. Jigel Mikhail received faith from those personalities and cultivated the vertical-horizontal family method? That's right. So what is personality? I don't know. Just get out. Jigal Mikhail, unable to bear Mokli Hyana's frustration, kicks Mokli Hyana out of the pure white space, and Mokli Hyana returns again to Tae Yuljon's body and scratches his head. What are you even saying seriously? And then he suddenly runs into Hyen Rang, who comes out from the Jigyo Dharma assembly. No, junior sister. What brings you here? Ha ha ha. For junior sister to come out after washing. That is something that shakes heaven and earth. Hem hem. By the way, what brings you out? Seeing Hyen Rang approach him warmly, Mokli Hyana still doesn't understand. Jigal Mikhail says that all the residents inside this heart essence world also have no souls and are only personalities, informational bodies. Mokli Hyana doesn't understand. By Jigal Mikhail's logic, it means all of them are not living beings. They are alive. And that is the same for Mokli Hyana, for Jigal Mikhail, for Lee Seoa, and for Onjiam. Just what does it even mean that there's no soul? Senior brother, I have something I'm curious about. Mokli Hyana vents to Hyen Rang about personality. What is the difference between personality and soul? On the way to Grand Nirvana Temple, Hyen Rang shows a slightly surprised expression at Mokli Hyana's question. To think junior sister still has the intelligence to ask such a high-level question. Haha, it's a joke. Anyway, the difference between personality and soul, is it? From our Buddhist family methods perspective, we don't really bother to distinguish them. They are both the same. If you have a personality, you also have spirit, and if you have a spirit, you also have a personality. Then what about someone who says they are different? Well, maybe they are looking at it from a slightly different dimension. Someone I know says the soul is the essence, and personality is the instruction manual attached to the essence. Then aren't the two different? Hyen Rang ponders about something at his words, then gives an answer. Personality is something you can call a name. Mokli Hyana feels as if something pierces straight through his head at those words. Personality is a status and a name that defines existence. But if there is no name and no status, does that being become something that does not exist? So you mean the essence still exists? Something like that. Then, if there is an existence that is only a name but no essence, what happens? If that existence's name and status disappear, does that existence disappear? Ha 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 ha. Junior sister Tae Yuljon. Up to now, junior sister has been forgotten by everyone and has been living like a wreck, just scratching your belly in your room. No one remembers junior sister, and even I sometimes forget junior sister. So then is junior sister disciple of being that does not exist? No, what is that supposed to mean? Why would I not exist? That is how it is. Junior sister is here. Even if junior sister is an existence that is only a name, even if everyone forgets junior sister is here. Even if it is an existence that is only a name, if that name-only existence has life and death and a heart, then the essence already exists in and of itself. Mokli Hyana sinks into deep thought. And even in that moment, Mokli Hyana's messy nature brings up a stray thought. By the way, in Tae Yuljon's memories, senior brother Hyen Rang is reliable. But was he a being that carries such a profound aura to this degree? Mokli Hyana looks up at Hyen Rang. Strangely enough, Hyen Rang looks mystical and sacred today. Hyen Rang pats Mokli Hyana's shoulder and speaks. Think well on the contemplation of a name. As your senior brother, I am very satisfied as it seems junior sister is finally coming to your senses about cultivation. Inside the alternate space, Onjiam organizes the curses she trades with Seo Lee while facing him, and the enlightenments she gained from Seo Lee. Kung. From far away, Seo Lee walks toward Onjiam, and through the enlightenment Onjiam gained while dealing with Seo Lee over the past few days, she is able to stabilize the wandering souls and her own personality. By doing so, Onjiam forcibly suppresses her fear of death to some extent, and she meets Seo Lee's eyes. Looks like you digest the contemplation I gave you last time. Teaching you has quite the flavor. Today, let us happily share contemplations again. Ha ha. Kururum. A flower sword made of cursed petals is held in Seo Lee's hand. Damn it. Onjiam realizes she cannot block that cursed sword, and the next moment, she is directly struck by the flower sword and shatters into pieces. Onjiam's soul shatters into pieces and scatters everywhere, and Seo Lee speaks toward the scattered souls. If the soul splits and becomes split souls, then among those split souls, who is the real one? If a new personality is born among those split souls, is it a different being or the same being? If you say it is a different being, then is existence divided by whether or not there is personality? Kururur. Ongeum's split souls flee from Seoli by instinct, and Seoli cackles and throws a contemplation at Ongeum's fleeing souls. Then in this place, I, whose personality is summoned by her history projection, am I a stranger to me from the distant past, or the same person? 7 days and nights pass. Several cultivators, including Zhou Yun and Haun, are waiting in front of the shrine of the Immeasurable Life Buddha religious order. Then, Ongeum walks out from inside the shrine. Haun notices from her gaze that she attained some kind of enlightenment. Something is different. That is, an enlightenment with depth. His hand itches because he wants to clash his own enlightenment with Ongeum's, but Haun endures his instinct and speaks to Ongeum. We have identified the location of the Overseer Factory. The Human Race Grand Alliance Legion is also ready. Has the true Immortal said they will help? Ongeum looks at Haun with blank eyes and smiles faintly. Yes, let us depart. The true Immortal will help us by using immortal arts. The Mad Lord's Legion, inside the Overseer Factory. Mokli Hyuna, who is in a tank inside it, suddenly comes to consciousness and opens his eyes. However, the research puppet does not pay much attention and tries to administer more sleeping medicine. That's when it happens. From the highest-ranked general puppets to a few among the marquee puppets who are permitted. Personality. They look at Mokli Hyuna's eyes and shout, "Wait, something is strange. Cut the circuit connected to that one." But the order of the marquee puppets does not get delivered right away, and Mokli Hyuna is one step faster. Bubble, bubble. From inside the tank, Mokli Hyuna, with his eyes half open, slowly opens his mouth. Names. Now I finally understand. Mr. Jiggle Mikhail, you are wrong. Through the contemplation Hyen Rang gave him, Mokli Hyuna gained a powerful enlightenment about names, and now sees a scene as if the whole world is made of names. The law power of his naming family method resonates, and shows Mokli Hyuna a sight in which this tank and the entire Overseer Factory seem to be made of names. Then, suddenly, Mokli Hyuna realizes that at the center of this Overseer Factory made of countless names, there is a certain other name. From inside the tank, while connected to the puppet circuits, Mokli Hyuna quietly calls that hidden name Authority, General Seo. The moment that name is spoken from Mokli Hyuna's mouth, Mokli Hyuna's consciousness starts to spread across the entire Overseer Factory. And Mokli Hyuna comes to know something. It is someone's will. I leave my arrangement for later generations. This will help you. Please accept this arrangement and survive. If we cannot reach the heavens, then someday, you must achieve it. Suiyaat. As countless names and authorities pour into Mokli Hyuna's mind, Mokli Hyuna receives that someone's will and heart and feels tears flowing. He does not know whose will it is. But what is certain is that the one who left behind the authority of the name, General Seo, was clearly facing some great evil, and in preparation for failure, left arrangements for later generations. Perhaps they were a being who resisted the one chi of the primordial chaos that Mokli Hyuna is wary of. I will carry on your will, and I will definitely survive. Mokli Hyuna opens his eyes wide and resolves to uphold the will left behind by a hero of the mythic age. And I will definitely surpass the one chi of the primordial chaos you tried to surpass. Save my older sister from the one chi of the primordial chaos, and safely return home. Kugagugagugu. The entire Overseer Factory falls into great chaos as it undergoes the phenomenon of all its authority being seized by an unknown being. And at the center of it all, Mokli Hyuna inherits the will of a mythical relic that has been passed on to him, and begins to steal his heart. Chapter 843. Side Story, Perfect Harmony, 1. Wai Yang. The Mad Lord's Overseer Factory. There, a terrifying alarm blares. The marquee puppets realize what causes this abnormal phenomenon, and all at once head toward the center of the Overseer Factory, toward the tank that confines Mokli Hyuna. That human race is seizing the Overseer Factory's authority. Dispose of it. Wait, I cannot get close. However, the puppets that actually get close to the water tank where Mokli Hyuna is realize they are being eroded by the factory's higher authority and stop in place. The Black Marquis, who became a puppet in the body of the Black Dragon race's Dragon King back in the distant ancient era, then slept deep inside the factory and awoke 20,000 years later, knows what this authority is. The highest command authority holder. Is this the command of the Mad Lord's proxy puppet who holds the authority of the wonderfully mysterious fortress. General Seo, the authority of General Seo, orders it to help Makli Hyana and seize this overseer factory. This I cannot refuse. The Black Marquis realizes they cannot refuse this topmost authority and blocks the other puppets. Everyone, cease all movement. From this moment on, we receive the orders of the highest command authority holder. What? Are you betraying us, Black Marquis? We Marquis puppets are puppets that have gained freedom after receiving a personality. Are free puppets supposed to receive someone's orders? Freedom, it is only a central processing unit that imitates the Heaven Tribe, Earth Tribe, Heart Tribe, and the like. We are all puppets that used to receive the Overseer Factory's orders. Did you forget? What do you mean? Personality is only a change that occurs in the process of converting spiritual energy in the circuits inside the body. In other words, it is only an arrangement of power. For us, the greatest importance is only orders. Audiobook. The Black Marquis blocks the other Marquis puppets, and some Marquis puppets receive the same command as the Black Marquis and stand on the Black Marquis's side. However, some other puppets look at the Black Marquis and the puppets as if they are confused and stand against them. The Black Marquis only feels puzzled. Strange. Why do they not respond to the factory's command word? As if the personality they have is real. But there is no doubt. No matter the reason, they only protect Makli Hyana according to orders. The inside of the Overseer Factory falls into great chaos due to Makli Hyana's erosion of authority. Just then, at the edge of the Overseer Factory, the guard puppets standing watch discover an anomaly. Karuru. The space in front of the factory warps, and beyond that space a vast darkness opens its jaws. Geoeoik. And from beyond that space, human race troops begin pouring out. Emergency. Human race raid on the Overseer Factory. Star-shattering stage Marquis puppets. Support requested. But the star-shattering stage puppets do not come to support. Among the guard puppets, the integration stage general puppets all step out and try to block the human race. But at that moment, the integration stage puppets, around 6,000, freeze in place and stare at the woman who opened the entrance to the black subspace. It is Ongeum. Wearing a translucent veil, Ongeum lays a carpet made of wandering souls in midair, kneels on that carpet, and prays. Chijijijik, Tukwang. Puppets outstanding even among general puppets. The celestial energy calculation devices implanted into some of the puppets slated for promotion to Marquis puppets begin to be smashed to pieces. And that is not all. The celestial energy calculation devices of every puppet in the entire Overseer Factory begin to shatter. As if the likes of lower-rank beings daring to read the celestial energy is not permitted, celestial energy comes alive and destroys what that observe it. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. The sky opens, and Ongeum, wearing the veil, in a demure posture, softly calls the name of the true Immortal who helps her. Please come. Radiance Hall Law Protector Immortal. The immortal art of an upper immortal who protects the immeasurable life Buddha religious order begins to descend. Black Spirit. Beyond the open sky, a pung bird large enough to cover the stars with its wings sweeps its wings. Swa. Black feathers pour down into the vast cold realm. Afterward, each feather shines brightly and pours out an enormous light. It is as if thousands, tens of thousands of suns appear in the sky, and all puppets and cultivators tightly shut their eyes at once. Simultaneously, the shadows that form when the cultivators are struck by that light move. Sunlight pouring down from all directions makes countless shadows, and those shadows rise from their places, become the exact same shapes as the cultivators, and fly toward the puppets. The human race army, which has an overwhelming numerical disadvantage against the puppets, in an instant becomes more numerous than the puppets. Advance. Haun shouts vigorously, and together with his shadow clones that endlessly multiply within the shadows, he runs toward the puppet legion, and the human race cultivators that also begin to multiply, without end rush at the puppet legion all at once. The puppets collapse helplessly before the human race's numerical superiority. On top of that, because the human race's shadows multiply, without limit as long as a shadow exists, the numerical advantage increases by the second, and with this level of difference in numbers, it is enough to defeat even star-shattering stage puppets. Kugagugum. Haun fights the puppets for a while, then suddenly realizes that from a certain point onward his shadows have multiplied far too much to the point he does not need to fight and only has to stand in the rear. And beside Hone, Jo Yun approaches. Marital artist Hone. Even though I cannot see with my eyes, I can hear it. I can tell. The overseer factory is collapsing, isn't it? Hone, with bitter eyes, strokes Jo Yun's head. Yes, Mississippi. At last. Jo Yun sheds tears. My task is ending. Our task, Mississippi, didn't I say I will take responsibility together with you? Is that so? Thank you. It is then. Quorum. The entire puppet factory begins to show a strange reaction. Jo Yun trembles as she hears that sound and speaks in a flustered voice. The overseer factory, is preparing to self-destruct. We must pull back the army right now. No matter how much our numbers increased, inside the overseer factory there are power sources of more than hundreds of star-shattering stage puppets. If those explode all at once. At her words, Haun shouts toward On Jium, who is offering prayers up in the void. Cultivator on. The overseer factory is preparing to self-destruct. Help the human race army retreat. Pot. Then, Jo Yun and Haun are sucked into the black spatial passage in an instant and are summoned to On Jium's side. Wait. Right now Hyuna's energy is leaking out. That guy noticed I've come close and is sending a signal. But, wait. A true immortal's immortal art is protecting us. Are you saying we run away? On Jium widens her eyes and waits for something. And after a while, from the direction of the overseer factory, something black flies toward On Jium. Pat it. It is. String of characters. Mokli Hyuna's Confucian family method substituted part of his flesh into a string of characters and sent it here. Twerik. And that string of characters instantly clumps together in the void, gradually changes into 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, and in an instant transforms into Mokli Hyuna's form. What's the situation inside? On Jium, are you all here to save me? Yes. To save you, I even used my precious true immortal summoning right. Can you get out on your own? At those words, Mokli Hyuna gives a bitter smile and shakes his head. No. Right now, the situation inside is turning somewhat serious. What situation? The puppets weren't simply kidnapping people and modifying them. Mokli Hyuna tells On Jium about the situation he came to realize while taking over the factory. They extracted the souls of humans, applied the ghost path method inside some device, and sealed them away. Inside the spirit jade beneath the central water tank of the overseer factory, the spirits of the Heaven Tribe, Earth Tribe, and Heart Tribe cultivators that the puppets have modified and killed until now are all sealed inside. Hoso, and some marquee puppets are granted personality by the overseer factory. But it isn't a real personality. It is only a fake personality that imitates us. However, from a certain point when the spirits accumulated in that spirit jade began to cross a critical point, it seems that at some point the spirits that entered the spirit jade overflowed and came to dwell in the marquee puppets that were granted personality. Mokli Hyuna lets them know that he acquired internal authority of the factory and is taking it over, and explains the situation. And the puppets with souls dwelling in them find the very fact that I am trying to take control of the factory extremely displeasing. Because of that, right now, infighting broke out between the puppets that were only given personality and the puppets that have souls dwelling in them. And as a result, the puppets with souls dwelling in them would rather choose death than be ruled by me. So they activated the Overseer Factory's self-destruct device. So that's what happened. Jo Yun, listening, nods and says to Mokli Hyuna, if you acquired authority and are taking over the factory, can you not control the self-destruct device too? Normally, yes. But to control the self-destruct device, you have to operate something called a celestial energy calculation device. But suddenly, the celestial energy calculation devices all shattered while reading celestial energy. Jo Yun's complexion turns pale, and On Jium realizes that things have become difficult because of the true immortal she called, and she clicks her tongue. It is then. Jo Yun speaks with a hardened expression. The task is right in front of us. As Cultivator Mokli has seized authority, and now that a true immortal extended protection. If I can only implant the disruption device I prepared into the Overseer Factory, I can issue a stop command to all puppets in the vast cold realm. Cultivator On Jium, please let me go inside the Overseer Factory. If it is me, I can implant the disruption device into the factory and send Taoist Mokli Hyuna out. At her words, Haun's face stiffens. Mississippi, it is okay. You already know, right? But, and seeing their reactions, On Jium clicks her tongue. Seeing as you aren't saying you will stop the self-destruction, Looks like you can't stop the factory's self-destruction, huh? Saving Hyuna is one thing, but are you planning to perish together with the factory? At those words, Jo Yun and Hoon do not answer. Mokli Hyuna looks at the two of them and becomes flustered. You don't need to worry about me. Even if I die, my soul will be summoned to the purple gold realm, and I will revive by my master's side anyway. I just have to self-destruct with these puppets. Thank you for your kindness, Taoist Mokli Hyuna. Taoist on Jiam. Suddenly, Mokli Hyuna feels that the two of them are smiling sadly for some reason, and he suddenly gets the feeling that the two of them are turning faintly pale. Onjiam looks at them and asks, just as I felt for a while, you aren't human, are you? Yes. More precisely, we used to be human. Pachijik. Jo Yun takes Hoon's hand. The two become semi-transparent at the same time, then return. Long ago, martial artist Hoon and I were nothing more than ordinary mortals. But one day, after the puppets awakened in the world, we realized our task. She holds Hoon's hand and looks up at the sky. Vaguely, I suppose you could say we became aware of our previous life. It isn't perfect, and it only rises now and then as the contents of dreams, but we were able to know. In our previous life, Hoon dwelled within a certain puppet of the wonderfully mysterious fortress made by the Mad Lord, and slaughtered many people. And I also learned that I am the reincarnation of the great sinner who created those puppets and threw the vast cold realm into chaos up to now, the Mad Lord himself. On Jiam's and Mokli Hyuna's eyes widen. Jo Yun speaks. We realized it as we looked up at the night sky. Since there is our responsibility for plunging this vast cold realm into ruin, resolving it is our task and the fate given upon this life. That is why martial artist Hoon and I, through part of our past life memories, researched the puppet's weaknesses and struggled to the point of desperation fulfill the task. But the task of the previous life is deep and deeper still. We could not subdue the puppets by the day our lifespans ran out. Because of that, through the Yin-Yang family method, we abandoned our withered bodies, bound only our spirits to this land, endured over 20,000 years of time, and kept fighting the puppets, and kept resisting. Once we bring this matter with those puppets to an end, only then, we can perhaps leave the 9 heavens. Of course, even so, or deeper still, so even if we return to the Yellow Springs again, we will have to cleanse our sins within flames. You're saying you have to go to the underworld again and suffer? Even after you atone. Perhaps it is because our sin and killing karma are deep enough that this alone cannot become atonement. That is the heavenly Tao, I suppose. As Mokli Hyuna hears those circumstances, he bites his lip. It's too much. Even so, it's something from a previous life. It isn't even something you remember completely. And with a previous life you remember only in fragments, setting aside bearing responsibility in this life. You are saying you have to enter a hell of fire again. No matter how he thinks about it, he cannot understand it. If you really must take responsibility in this life, then shouldn't you instead have the previous life's memories completely? Why is it the heavenly Tao to pin sin on a complete stranger who cannot remember anything at all? We also do not know the heavenly Tao well. But what is certain is, personality is not the issue. Pardon, I also wondered plenty about why this task was given to me when my personality is different. But in the end, it came down to one realization. Rather, if I were born inheriting my previous life's personality, ability, and intelligence as they were, and tried to resolve this task, how could that be atonement? It is because I received it back the same way while in a state with no resolve, no memory, no ability. Only then can it be atonement. That is what I think. Jo Yun opens the eyes she has kept closed until now. Mokli Hyuna can see Jo Yun's pupils. They are soft, light pink pupils. Her eyes carry such clear liveliness that it is hard to believe they are that of a blind person's. It is not based on memory and personality, but on causality that the task is given, on causality that you receive punishment and atone, so it is not unfair. How is that not unfair? In the end, the me of the previous life and the me of now are different people, are they not? No, it is only that the personality is different. If the causality is the same, then they are the same person. She looks up at Hoon with a loving gaze. Because there was the me of the previous life. Because the me of the previous life formed causality and held connection, the connection of now also exists. Therefore, if I meet happiness in this life, and that happiness is due to causality, then it is only right to accept pain as also because of causality. Hoon quietly closes his eyes and grips Jo Yun's hand tightly. Mokli Hyuna suddenly finds clarity in those words, and for some reason, the enlightenment he internalized from the contemplation topic Hyan rang through at him feels like it settles into him even more. It feels like the contemplation he still did not understand is unraveling. It seems the same is true for Onjium as well, as she makes a strange expression and takes on the look of someone who gained enlightenment. Are you saying personality and causality are one? I believe it is like so. If you accept happiness, then of course you must accept pain as well. If you accept life, then of course you must accept death as well. And if you receive a miracle, then of course you must accept fate as well. Holding hands with Han, she closes her eyes again. In this life, I received the miracle called the martial artist Han, and through him my personality was defined. And if this miracle is made by the causality of the previous life, then I will also accept the fate made by that causality. So please open a path for us. The time to end our task has come. All right. Mokli Hyuna reads the resolve coming from the two, and looks at Onjium. There is still about 1 tea time left until the self-destruction. But once self-destruction begins, it won't just be this area blowing away. It will be on the level of hundreds of star-shattering level beings self-destructing, so the entire vast cold realm will be massively affected. Tell the true immortal to protect the human race and flee quickly. Even if I die, I will revive by my master's side. Huh. I asked the true immortal for help to save you, and you're telling me to let you die? Don't be ridiculous. And there is no need to flee, or to make anyone flee. Don't look down on a true immortal's protection. Onjium snaps at Mokli Hyuna and reaches out a hand toward Mokli Hyuna's clone. I read the coordinates. I'm going straight there, so wait. What? Inside the factory there are hundreds of layers of barriers, so even if you are at the grand perfection integration stage. But in the next moment, Onjium opens a spatial passage in an instant, passes through the black space, and arrives together with Jo Yun and Han right in front of the tank, where Mokli Hyuna is confined. Mokli Hyuna blinks from inside the tank, and Onjium looks into the tank and snorts. Snap out of it. Hurry up and come out, and put some clothes on. Quagwagwang. When she swings her hand, the tank shatters in an instant, and Mokli Hyuna comes out of the tank and quickly uses social authority to make black clothes. How did you teleport straight here like this? Even if you used me as the coordinate, I obtained a fortuitous opportunity from the distant mythic age. She looks around and asks Jo Yun. So, where do we have to go to plant the disruption device? The topmost floor of the overseer factory. At those words, Mokli Hyuna clicks his tongue. On the topmost floor, the puppets with spirits that reject my authority are all gathered and holding out. And it isn't just 1 or 2 star-shattering stage puppets, either. That means there are also star-shattering stage puppets that follow your authority, right? At Onjium's words, Mokli Hyuna grins and nods. Of course, it isn't something I can't break through. Good. Then let's go. The remaining time is 1 tea time. Within the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, they have to break through the puppets, drive in Jo Yun's disruption device, and then escape. Thus, gathering Mokli Hyuna's star-shattering stage puppets, the 4 of them begin preparing for the final decisive battle. Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain. Purple Gold Realm, Ban-Ta Castle. At the center of Ban-Ta Castle, Ban-Ta, who sits on the Jade Throne, half opens his eyes. Ban-Ta's gaze lingers on Jo Yun and Han, the 2 Inyang family method cultivators who are beside his disciple Mokli Hyuna in the distant vast cold realm, then turns again toward the nearby star heaven. Is it soon? In Ban-Ta's eyes, countless laws and causality appear. From beyond history and fate, he sees a single bird reviving. As laws entangle, it restores personality and begins to reconnect causality. When the power of the Inyang family method crosses the critical point, the personality will be restored and they will revive. And with a high probability, this time as well through history repetition, that one will snatch my disciple so he can never advance to the sacred vessel stage, or else will push him past the sacred vessel stage and make him directly advance to true immortality. Looking at the progenitor of the Inyang family method who is reviving, Ban-Ta's purple gaze burns. This time, I will never let them take him. At least for this disciple, never. Chapter 844, Side Story, Perfect Harmony, 2. To-do. The barrage from the puppets continues. Within that barrage, Onjium stands at the forefront and moves her shadow, devouring the barrage, as if it leads into a strange, alternate dimension. That shadow, without distinguishing between integration stage puppets and star-shattering stage puppets, swallows every puppet attack as it is and erases it. What in the world is that on GM? Mokli Hyuna clicks his tongue as he watches the convenient art that summons the entire human race Grand Army to the Overseer Factory, teleports through space at will, and sends every attack beyond the other space. You definitely didn't have that before. It's from a fortuitous encounter in the human race's domain. They say it's related to the legacy of the ghost mother from the distant past. Mokli Hyuna accepts it at the mention that it is the ghost mother's legacy, who is one of the three calamities. The legacy of the Mad Lord, one of the three calamities, turned the entire vast cold realm into a wasteland. If it's the ghost mother's legacy, it has to be at least this much. Quagwagwang. Integration stage puppets shoot out like bullets and attempt self-destruction attacks, but they all get sucked into Ongeum's other space and simply never come out again. Ongeum and Mokli Hyuna's group breaks through the puppets' blocking line and at last reaches the front of their destination. Overseer Factory, Control Tower. In front of it, countless star-shattering stage marquee puppets are deployed, and the star-shattering stage puppets that follow Mokli Hyuna also prepare attacks toward them. The star-shattering stage puppets all growl and shout at Mokli Hyuna. Do not try to rule us. After kidnapping us when we were living well and turning us into bodies like this, are you saying you will deprive our freedom again? Give us our freedom. And at those words, Ongeum lets out a snort. Gying. Her eyes are dyed a strange, deep navy. Freedom? You are putting on a strange act of being victims. As the saintess of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order, and as the apostle of the executor, I obtained this reign do I. It is showing the karmic sins you wretches committed, yet you sure are good at spilling excuses. At Ongeum's cold voice, they try to protest all at once, but Ongeum doesn't listen to their words and dismisses them. I have learned the ghost path method that handles wandering souls, and even among the true immortals of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order, I am one who serves the executor. That is why I can read, to some extent, the causality of the karmic sins accumulated in your spirit. You were kidnapped by the puppets and modified, and your spirit flew backward into the inside of the puppet, and you regained self-awareness and personality. But isn't the principle nothing other than each and every one of you being devilish path bastards that are disgusting beyond limits? What? Is it not obvious? For some reason unclear to me, the puppets modified living beings and drove their souls into the spirit jade. Yet among them, the souls of devilish ones with vile and turbid heart essences, or the souls of hypocrites, were pushed out from inside that spirit jade, so they flew back out of the spirit jade and gained self-awareness. Am I wrong? What is that? My memories from when I was a living being are not even complete, and you are saying I should pay even the price of sins from when I was a living being? After I became a puppet, I only tried to evolve all living beings into superior existences like us. Memories and the price of sin. At those words, Ongeum turns back, glances at Hone and Jo Yun for a moment, then asks, if there is no memory, then do you have no sin? Is that not obvious? Whatever sin I committed when I was a living being, by what pretext do you demand a price for sins from me who cannot remember? First, setting aside the fact that it's a lie that you can't remember your time as a living being. TSTSTS. Ongeum's shadow changes. The surrounding air begins to turn pallid. Mokli Hyuna begins to get goosebumps, and Jo Yun and Hone also feel a vicious aura and stop breathing for a moment. Even if there is no memory, as long as the ill connection with those who suffered because of you does not disappear, you must pay the price of sin. Even if personality is forgotten, connection must continue. If, without connection, only personality remains, then that is merely nothing more than a tool. Through Jo Yun and Hone's story, she was able to fully grasp the insights she obtained while facing Seo Lee in that other space. Connection and causality. Depending on whether you accept it or not, the difference between a soul and a mere personality that is not a soul opens up. Are my words correct? Ongeum flicks her eyes backward, and the transformed shadow behind her laughs. Correct, Ghost Path Cultivator. A shadow with 18 heads. The shadow that introduced itself as Seo Lee's personality, summoned by the being called the Ghost Mother, cackles. If there is neither connection nor causality, then it is merely an arrangement of information and nothing more than a lump of pure power that has directionality. It cannot be defined as an existence. At the shadow's words, Mokli Hyuna flinches in surprise and is able to deepen his enlightenment once again. I see. Now I understand what Jigal Mikhail meant. Without a soul, only a personality exists. That means it must exist only as someone's tool. It exists only as a system that transfers some kind of power, and as a tool or the power itself that someone merely handles. Jigal Mikhail despaired over that. On the other hand, even a personality that is nothing more than an arrangement of information can exist as a soul if it accepts connection and causality. The integration stage is the stage of laying the foundation of immortal arts. Child, do you understand now? Onjiam closes her eyes. The star-shattering stage puppets begin to pour attacks on her, but the puppets on Mokli Hyuna's side block them. In the chaotic battlefield, she accepts Seo Li's words. All tools in this world, if connection accumulates and they accept causality, then they become an existence in and of themselves. That is the same for immortal arts as well. That is right. Immortal arts is precisely spreading personality across the world. For an innate sacred vessel stage that is born through immortal arts to have a soul is to accept connection and causality. Seo Li's shadow places a hand on Onjiam's shoulder. I am an existence where the personality within the ghost mother's memories was copied. An ordinary person would feel confusion of identity, but because Seo Li, the personality within her memories, had enlightenment, I inherited the wisdom of that enlightenment and defined myself. Wawung. Resonance, Gongyu. Onjiam's flesh body and Seo Li's ghost fires resonate. I am a copied personality. The connection and causality within the memories are what Seo Li, the main body, had, so there is nothing that remains for me. But I only need to accumulate them from now on. Huarurik. The ghost king with 18 heads transforms into a human form. That form has the face of a beauty, but soon that face melts away, and it becomes a visage similar to Onjiam's face. I am Seo Li. I am your immortal art. Wield me, and teach me connection. Seo Li's body and Onjiam's body overlap. At that moment, Onjiam half opens her eyes and raises her hand. Immortal art. Ghost face, killing heaven. Curse and pain. The greatest enlightenment about resentment poison blooms from her body. But that is not the end. Through the method she learned while facing and learning from Seo Li in that other space, she begins to bring about reversal of that sorrowful and dreadful resentment poison. The greatest curse is the greatest blessing. The best cure is the worst poison. Enlightenment about blessings and curses blend with the talent she possesses, and it covers the entire overseer factory. Keyuwak. Kwawa. A wave of blessings and curses that cannot be described in words whirls through. The wave of blessings embraces the allies behind Onjiam and the spirit jade where the spirits gathered deep inside the overseer factory are, and the wave of curses clings to the puppets with souls standing in front. Kwawa. In the distant mythic age, the curse of one who sharpened enlightenment of blessings and curses to the extreme is manifested in this era and begins to eat away at the minds of villains. Sinners who committed evil deeds, grew up with hypocrisy and twisted hearts, abused countless living beings, and in the end, even after being modified into puppets, cruelly captured living beings and deliberately modified them in vile ways. Within unbearable, dreadful pain, they begin to melt away under Mokli Hyuna's puppets. Mokli Hyuna looks at his puppets. Puppets that have personality but have no soul. Someday, if those also accumulate connection and accept causality, will a soul be born? For now, they are nothing more than tools. As Seo Li explained, as Jigal Mikhail lamented, to puppets without causality, there is no choice, and there is no will to resist the one who has authority. But if they too accept causality, then maybe it will be different. Someday, they too might become Mokli Hyuna's people. Chwaak. The enemy puppets that take the curses and bombardment from Mokli Hyuna's puppets collapse, and within the overseer factory, only a pure white shining blessing remains and sweeps across the entire factory. And the blessing that circle throughout the entire factory head to the factory center, to the spirit jade where the spirits are gathered. At that moment, Geogigiak, crack. The spirit jade shatters, and the spirits of everyone who was captured by the puppets for 20,000 years, modified and sealed, begin to awaken. As countless souls are liberated in an instant, it is as if the entire overseer factory is engulfed by spirits that cry out in jubilation. Onjiam continues to move ahead, and Mokli Hyuna, Zhou Yun, and Haun finally reach the control tower. Zhou Yun staggers up to one part of the control tower and begins to control the entire overseer factory, and the moment she connects something she brought with her to the Overseer factory. To-do-do-do-do-do-do. The puppets fighting outside the factory all stop at once. The puppets rampaging across the vast cold realm all stop as well, and the factories across the vast cold realm come to a halt. Now, never again will the Mad Lord's puppets harm living beings. Unless someone takes the puppets and misuses them. Only now, as if she has finished everything she must do, Jo Yun leans her body against Ha-Eun's chest with a somewhat relieved face. However, the celestial calculation device is dead, so I cannot stop the factory's self-destruction. Soon the factory will explode. The power sources of hundreds of star-shattering stage puppets will explode all at once, so please hurry and evacuate. What will you do? Add on Jiam's question, Jo Yun, held in Ha-Eun's arms, holds his hand and smiles. With the Inyang family method, we will suppress the explosion as much as possible at the factory center. As the task has been finished anyway, and we are forcibly extending our lifespan, it rather feels relieving, so please do not worry. Are you really fine with that? Your traces in this world will disappear. It is fine. We accepted death long ago. We simply could not accept failing to accomplish the task. Now everything is over, so we will close our eyes. Mokli Hyuna looks at On Jiam and asks, can't you transfer all of this explosion into your alternate space? It's impossible because of the range. If it's an explosion of several hundred star-shattering stage power sources, setting aside whether the alternate space can endure it, the size of the entrance to the alternate space that I can open at my current realm is limited, so I can't block it all. I can use it to escape, but that's the limit. Mokli Hyuna looks at Jo Yun, who sits on the floor and rests in Ha-Eun's eyes, closing her eyes comfortably. The past. Two lovers who have sacrificed their entire lives in order to repay the karmic sins of a previous life, whose memories do not remain, and whose personality did not continue. Because their karmic sins are still not erased, the two who must still burn again in flames. Their end leaves a very deep impression on Mokli Hyuna. Let's respect them. It seems the puppets that follow your orders are not the ones Jo Yun stopped. So I think it would be good for us to take the puppets as spoils and evacuate. All right. Mokli Hyuna bows to the two people inside the control tower, who hold hands comfortably and begin to exchange the energy of yin and yang. And even until the moment he exits the control tower, he cannot take his eyes off them. At the last moment, Mokli Hyuna feels as if those two look like a single taiji. The yin-yang family method. Is it a method of love? Perfect symmetry of yin-yang taiji. Within that beautiful harmony, for some reason, Mokli Hyuna is able to feel the emotion called love. Let's go. Mokli Hyuna gathers the puppets and several major pieces of equipment from the factory, then leaves. Kugugugugu. At the same time, the Overseer factory begins to self-destruct. And at the center of the Overseer factory, there, a form of yin and yang rises and begins to rotate. And that rotational force grabs the explosive force and pins it there in a spherical form. On Jiam quickly withdraws the army of the Human Race Grand Alliance to the Human Race territory through the alternate space. Come quickly, Mokli Hyuna. Now there's only us left. As it seemed that the situation was resolved well, the true immortal of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order that appeared in the sky returned. And now what remains is only the exploding Overseer factory, Mokli Hyuna, and On Jiam. However, Mokli Hyuna does not follow On Jiam. I said come quickly, what are you doing? That On Jiam. What? That explosive force. Even though those two are blocking it, doesn't it seem kind of big? Huh. It is as he says. For some reason, the Overseer factory's self-destruction is growing at a speed beyond imagination, and its power is far more ferocious than they thought. At this rate, even if they deal with the factory, the stable realm region of the vast cold realm seems like it is going to turn into a total wasteland. What is going on? That isn't the level of several hundred star-shattering stage power sources exploding. At Mokli Hyuna's words, the star-shattering stage puppet Black Marquis, who is guarding the two nearby, answers. That is only natural. After all, the Overseer factory planned to begin a full occupation of the vast cold realm once this quarter ended, and it finished identifying the cultivators of the 100 schools. So it stockpiled 6,000 star-shattering stage power sources in advance. What? Mokli Hyuna and On Jiam's expressions go blank. The technical prowess that the Mad Lord left behind had reached, beyond what they imagined, a truly devil-like level. Chapter 845, Side Story, Perfect Harmony, 3. I have to stop it. Don't spout crazy nonsense. Mokli Hyuna hardens his expression and says he will stop the explosion, and Onjiam also turns serious and grabs Mokli Hyuna. You're nothing but an ascending metamorphosis, first tribulation cultivator. You're only around the early 4-axis stage, so what are you even going to stop that with? The dozens of star-shattering stage puppets you control? You absolutely can't stop that with those. At the very least, it's something a sacred vessel sacred master has to step out for. Regardless of whether or not you can come back to life even after you die, I even used a true immortal summoning rite so that you won't die. If you die pointlessly in this state, it means you only made me waste a summoning rite precious as blood. Onjiam speaks with a stiff face, gripping Mokli Hyuna's shoulder hard. Stop talking nonsense and evacuate. You just need to ride the nether crossing ship and go outside the vast cold realm. That kind of thing isn't such an important problem. The vast cold realm is going to become a wasteland. What's it to us what happens to someone else's world? Even so, if we can save it, we should save it. Above all, Mokli Hyuna thinks of the perfect taiji he saw at the end. Remembering that beautiful harmony that can only be described as love, he speaks with a hardened face. I can't let those two's sacrifice be in vain. Crazy talk. It isn't even your responsibility. So why and what are you even trying to do? You said there's an alternate space inside my body, right? With your alternate space alone, you can't cover that explosion, but if you pull my alternate space out into reality, we can, just barely, cover the explosion with our alternate space. You don't even have an integrated Tao domain, and you think someone like you can do that? Master says my alternate space is a single world, and I checked it unconsciously. There's a real world inside. It's more than possible. As if she realizes something, Onjiam grinds her teeth. Sacred Master Banta, did he read up to here? Did he send you here so that you can wield your alternate space yourself? He teaches his disciple so harshly. She realizes that Banta sent Mokli Hyuna here even while seeing all of this situation in advance. Fine, I'll cooperate. But remember this. If it looks like you can't control that explosion even a little, I'm going to immediately take you and get us out of here. Got it? It doesn't matter, so help me. Damn it. Onjiam flares with anger, hoists Mokli Hyuna up, and quickly heads above the spherical form explosion. At the center of the explosion, the taiji still spins round and controls the explosion, and Onjiam opens the entrance to the alternate space and covers one side of the explosion. Now, quickly, pull out that alternate space of yours. Okay. With a solemn expression, Mokli Hyuna closes his eyes. He feels the enormous space inside himself. It is so enormous that it is enough to call it a small cosmos in itself. Open it. Until now, he has thought of this universe only as a vessel that lets him divine descent power by letting the energy of a strong person dwell in it. But now that he sees it, this small universe can also be opened into reality and can also suck in things of reality. It's a shame I only practiced the Confucian family method and neglected the naming family method a bit. Even if it is a method that can be learned only up to the core formation stage, its might does not stop at core formation. Depending on how much he cultivates within his realm, it could make him become strong in a way that fits his realm, or, depending on the cultivation progress, strong enough to even leap beyond his realm. So there was a reason Master told me not to gather social authority, but to solidify the basics more diligently. My basics really are terribly flimsy. With a slightly self-mocking smile, Mokli Hyuna engraves a name into the void. They say that when a personality accepts connection and causality, they become an existence itself. In other words, connection and causality are, in themselves, the soul. And, according to the contemplation Hyen rang through him and Mokli Hyuna's thoughts, personality is a name. And according to what Onjiam showed him just now, an immortal art is personality. That is, spreading the name out into the world. For some reason, his head spins tight, and the enlightenment is digested quickly. Inside himself, he feels as if two beings, light and chains, are smiling toward him. Maybe they are the ones granting him talent. Mr. Jigel Mikhail, you said we are beings without a soul, with only personality, right? Mokli Hyuna's eyes shine. I don't think so. I don't think I am simply a copied existence. After rising to ascending metamorphosis, he can remember all his memories in detail. From when he was born, to the time he died after being hit by a truck because of Jiwa, it is all vivid. He clearly remembers the very moment he died. I accepted death. He was, from the start, an existence his family did not need. Other than being Lee Seoa's shadow, he had no meaning at all, to the point that, if he had not had the will to see Ji Hua's face after falling for her, he might have died long ago. Mokli Hyuna is someone whose will to live was faint from the start. So, he accepted death far too naturally. That is what he thought. But the moment he saw Zhou Yun's and Hao's deaths, he realized something was wrong. Was my life a life meaningful enough to accept death? Before accepting death, shouldn't he have lived with a desperate will to live? Isn't death something one can accept only after living their life while doing their best, like those two? Mokli Hyuna recalls his memories on Earth. Even as an illegitimate child, if he worked hard at something, he might have become someone that could help Lee Seoa from within the shadows, rather than being baggage or just a shadow. If I did my best within the fate given to me, couldn't I have done something? Everything, half-heartedly. Everything, roughly. Everything slowly because it is annoying. That was his life. His life would not change unless there is some big change. Through Jigul Mikhail's death, he steeled his will to live. Through the deaths of Zhou Yun and Haon, he feels like he only now knows what a proper life is. Now that he finally knows what life is, he cannot stay like this. Let's change. The name Mokli Hyuna engraves into the void finally shines. That name is Extreme Ghost Path. Open. Ghost Path. As the name Mokli Hyuna calls reveals itself in reality, his soul resonates with the flow of the world. Suat. At the same time, deep within Mokli Hyuna's soul, a vast entrance of emptiness gapes open, and it becomes a huge entrance like the one on Geum unfolds. To-do-do-do-do. Unlike on Geum's, Mokli Hyuna's entrance pours the explosive force directly into the inside of Mokli Hyuna's soul, so Mokli Hyuna flinches in surprise as he feels heat and pain. Ugh. It's hot. And it hurts. Ugh. And the entrance does not open well, either. He has to cover the entire sphere of the explosion with the entrance, but Mokli Hyuna's entrance is still not even half of on Geum's. More. Mokli Hyuna draws up more and more of the power held by the name, and continues to control himself through the name. A name is personality. Being able to control my name means being able to control my spirit. There is an alternate world inside my spirit, so if I use that name, I can open the entrance wide enough. Pain like his soul is being torn rises up, but Mokli Hyuna pulls up the power of the name even more with all the strength he has. It is that moment. Mokli Hyuna suddenly feels like he hears Hyen Rank's voice. A name is personality. If personality accepts causality, that is existence. Therefore, if a being with a soul calls a name, the name is wielded as a tool by that being and becomes immortal arts. Suddenly, Mokli Hyuna feels a warm touch, as if Hyen Rang is stroking his head. An immortal art is handled by a being with a soul, and that being's soul can feel that warmth. If there is warmth inside you, if you breathe that warmth into the name, that will be a proper immortal art. What is warmth? Even as he asks the question, Mokli Hyuna feels like he himself already knows the answer. Because down below, yin and yang that carry warmth are taking the shape of Taiji and turning. Love, warmth, benevolence, passion will. He cannot express it in words. But what is certain is something harmonious that has reached perfect symmetry. Warmth is accepting. Accepting connection, accepting causality, accepting fate, accepting death, accepting life. They are all different words, but in truth they are the same. Only a being that knows how to accept can mature. Accept, embrace, or acknowledge. Mokli Hyuna acknowledges all of himself. His vanity, fear, laziness, annoyance, desire, stupidity. And as he accepts all of it, only then does he understand what it is that he lacks. Keying. Isn't it said that a personality accepting causality is the formation of existence? Mokli Hyuna acknowledges and accepts everything about himself. And he gives thanks. At that moment, only then does Mokli Hyuna know more clearly than anyone that he has a soul. Hey, Mr. Jigul, stop talking nonsense and just get ready to come out of me later. Pat it. Gratitude. The moment that warmth settles into the name Mokli Hyuna has engraved, Mokli Hyuna's spirit no longer tears apart by force, and it very naturally opens the vast alternate space inside the talent of Extreme Ghost Path. Chwaak. On Geum's alternate space and Mokli Hyuna's alternate space unfold from both sides, wrapping up the explosion. However, Mokli Hyuna lets out an exclamation. He has covered the explosion almost completely, but a very small gap remains. Ah no. Through this gap, an enormous explosive force is about to sweep across the entire continent. To stop that, the Taiji rotating inside has to rotate a bit more strongly and draw in a bit more of the explosive force. But now the Taiji is instead losing strength. At this rate, it is then. Pat it. From Mokli Hyuna's B scroll, Mokli Badger jumps out. Whack. Badger, what are you doing? Get back in right now. It's dangerous. Isn't it an urgent situation? It is urgent. Because it's dangerous. In this situation, thank you for worrying. I have been grateful for all this time. Badger, with trembling hands, gently strokes Mokli Hyuna's head. Mokli Hyuna is dumbfounded, but in the next moment, Badger leaps straight out past Mokli Hyuna and dives toward the gap that Mokli Hyuna and Ongeum cannot block. Mokli Badger. Mokli Hyuna screams, and after Badger gives a thumbs up toward Mokli Hyuna, she begins to explode her potential. At the same time, Badger, who is at the Grand Perfection Core Formation stage, raises her realm, and a heavenly lightning tribulation falls from the sky and strikes Badger head-on. Kururum. Badger takes that heavenly lightning, and with the heavenly lightning enters the gap, pierces through the explosive force with the power of heavenly lightning, and enters the very innermost part, the place where the Yin-Yang Taiji cycles. She reaches the place where Zhou Yun and Haun are. In that moment, Mokli Hyuna watches Badger use the heavenly tribulation to go all the way inside, then endure the heavenly tribulation and transform. Badger's transformation form is a beautiful woman. She looks up at Mokli Hyuna gently, then reaches her hand toward Zhou Yun and Haun, who are fused into the form of Taiji. At that moment, the Taiji of the two people rotates even more fiercely, and the explosive force decreases for a moment, and the barrier of the alternate spaces that Ongeum and Mokli Hyuna have made finally closes. Immediately after, from inside the barrier the two of them created, an unimaginably powerful Taiji wave bursts out, and the instant Mokli Hyuna is struck by that wave, he feels his latent potential surge up enormously. At the same time, the sense of presence of Haiyan Rang, which he has been faintly feeling since just before, becomes even clearer. Mokli Hyuna blankly looks up at Haiyan Rang. Haiyan Rang smiles softly, taps his head a couple of times, and speaks. Please call my name. For some reason, Mokli Hyuna cannot refuse. Haiyan Rang. That moment, Haiyan Rang's body becomes light and scatters in all four directions, then fires straight into the souls that have been wandering around after being freed from the Overseer factory, the souls that had been modified into puppets and sealed. Chwawak. Starting from 20,000 years ago and reaching the present. All the souls of everyone who has been slaughtered and modified by the Mad Lord's puppets during that time instantly gain the bodies of a human and revive. Haiyan Rang's voice resonates in Mokli Hyuna's ear. Someday, please call my name again. Through you, someday, I think I will be able to open my eyes again. After finishing those words, Haiyan Rang's voice scatters again. Just who are? At the same time, Mokli Hyuna forgets the name of the owner of the voice that has just helped him. That person, who is he? He's someone who is the senior brother of a human called Taeyul John in the Grand Nirvana Temple of my inner world, but I can't think of his name. Shiraririk. It is a strange thing, but he cannot afford complicated thoughts. All the explosive force flies into Mokli Hyuna and Ongeum's alternate spaces, and Mokli Hyuna sinks into extreme fatigue and begins to fall, unconscious. Ongeum hastily picks Mokli Hyuna up in her arms, and soon feels warm energy flowing out from the lives that have revived into human bodies nearby, gathering over Mokli Hyuna. This is the acceptance at fate's end axis. The world's energy, the hearts of the people of the vast cold realm who have received grace from them. They create the axis that is most necessary for cultivators of the 100 schools, like Mokli Hyuna. Ongeum first gathers up that lump of energy, then tries to take Mokli Hyuna in her arms and retreat to a safe place. However, because of the aftermath of the explosion, a hole is punched through the dimensional veil of the vast cold realm, and she is unable to escape that suction force, being sucked into it. Cuff. Since Sacred Master Banta still isn't saving us, does that mean there's no problem even if we go with this suction force? After making a quick judgment, she rides the Nether Crossing ship and flies toward that hole in the dimensional veil. Anyway, there's celestial energy in the vast cold realm that Li Xiaohua will come chasing in the near future, so it's better to take refuge somewhere else. Like so, she and Mokli Hyuna leave the vast cold realm and fly into an unknown space. Only after it swallows the two does the suction force stop, and the dimensional veil is filled in according to the world's restoring force. In the place where all is resolved, only one woman wearing a pale pink palace dress remains, stroking the traces of the taiji engraved into the earth, and quietly says a single line. May you attain Buddhahood. The moment the gigantic taiji wave is emitted in the vast cold realm by Jo Yun and Hone. Banta, who is in the sun and moon heavenly domain's purple gold realm, widens his eyes. It has finally come. Heeing. By Banta, principles of law move, twisting the fate of the being that revives in the vast cold realm and is about to meet his disciple, pulling them to the front of the purple gold realm. Snap. When he snaps his finger, the waves of Yin-Yang Taiji move to the front of the purple gold realm, and from the center of that wave, a pure white bird begins to spread its wings. Welcome, Glass Peacock. Banta smiles at his long-standing enemy, whom he meets again after crossing a distant time. Crossing a long and longer time. Glass Peacock has revived. Chapter 846, Side Story, Path of Immortal Cultivation, 1. Wayu. In the chaos where countless Virambo wind blows in, Mokli Hyuna rubs his eyes and gets up. This place is outside the vast cold realm, a space within chaos. While we were stopping the self-destruction of the vast cold realm overseer factory, a hole opened in the dimensional veil, so we ended up falling through. Hee. I hear that if we reach the outside of the Sumeru Three Heavens great thousand world where we live, we will reach a sea of chaos where everything is twisted. We are probably drifting through that space within chaos. Taoist Mokli Huil. For a moment, Mokli Hyuna thinks, why is Mokli Huil here? When we stopped the self-destruction, there was definitely only me and Onjiam. Yin-Yang, right? The three of us stopped the self-destruction. Taoist Mokli Huil supported me from behind. Thank you for earlier, Taoist Mokli Huil. If this is within chaos. Yes, Miss Onjiam is currently having us ride the Nether Crossing ship while drifting through chaos. By the way, how do we go back? I don't know what this chaos or whatever is, but is there even a way to return? Who knows? Since chaos is a place where time and space and everywhere is all jumbled up, it seems it might be hard to return easily. Kuang. Mokli Hyuna clutches his head and gets up from his seat. The familiar sight of the Nether Crossing ship comes into view. Are you up? And to the standing Mokli Hyuna, Onjiam suddenly approaches and hands something over. This is acceptance at Fate's End Axis. Unlike us Immortal family cultivators, you 100 Schools cultivators don't have the soul undergo axis transformation at the heavenly being stage, so when you gather the 5 elements or the 5 blessings axis, you have to gather all 5. Originally, I was going to gather them with you in the vast cold realm while spending time, but luckily, the gratitude of the spirits you saved resonated with the will of the vast cold realm, so you could obtain the acceptance at Fate's End Axis right away. Oh, that's totally lucky, isn't it? Simple-minded. The acceptance at Fate's End Axis is originally the easiest axis to obtain. The real problem starts now. Onjiam lets out a sigh and continues. From here on, the axes we have to gather are the longevity axis, the wealth axis, the health axis, and the love of virtue axis. Among them, the wealth axis is something we can pick up like taking a walk if we stop by the Monas domain of the purple gold realm with your master, Sacred Master Banta, so it practically has no difficulty. Then the axes we have to gather are the longevity axis, the health axis, and the love of virtue axis. Among them, the health axis and the love of virtue axis are pretty doable. The true devil realm, where you can obtain the love of virtue axis, fears the human race, so you can travel around with a pretty big advantage, and the ancient force realm, where you can obtain the health axis, is a closed-off place, so outside divine spirits do not intervene. As long as your own ability is outstanding and you do not violate the Sacred Master's taboos, there is no problem. But Onjiam lets out a deep sigh and continues. The Nether Ghost Realm, where we have to obtain the longevity axis, is a place ruled by 2 groups. The Wheel Imperial Venerable Religious Order that serves the god of the afterlife, and the One Shi of the Primordial Chaos Religious Order that serves the starry sky we know well. The Immeasurable Life Buddha Religious Order does not exist. In other words, in the Nether Ghost Realm, my status does not work at all, and instead, only my status as a trader of the Black Ghost Valley will stand out. We will just get chased by the main sect of the Black Ghost Valley in the Nether Ghost Realm. Then isn't it enough to stack up the health axis, the love of virtue axis, and the wealth axis, and then at the end go and quickly stack up the longevity axis and come right out? At Mokli Hyana's nonchalant question, she clicks her tongue and speaks. That was the original plan. But because we slipped out into the Sea of Chaos, to get out of this place we have to use another world outside as a coordinate with a powerful medium. And the most powerful medium we have is the Nether Crossing Ship. And the Nether Crossing Ship is a divine artifact of the Black Ghost Valley. So it's heading to the Nether Ghost Realm where the main sect of the Black Ghost Valley is. She sighs. Of course, the Sea of Chaos has time and distance all jumbled up. So even if we keep advancing toward the coordinates, we don't know when we will arrive. We might arrive right away, or we might not arrive even after 10 billion years pass. Wakak, isn't this a big problem? Don't worry. If we still can't arrive even after 10,000 years, as a last resort we can use the last remaining true immortal summoning rite. Onjiam grinds her teeth, as if it pains her to death to spend it. Mokli Hyana reads the mood and quietly apologizes. I'm sorry. Because of me for no reason. We ended up evacuating to a place like this. It's fine. We also got plenty of spoils. When Onjiam opens her alternate space, the star-shattering stage marquee puppets walk out from inside, and they spread out on top of the Nether Crossing Ship the major facilities they ripped off from the Overseer factory while fleeing. Puppet manufacturing equipment. You know what I mean, right? Mokli Hyana thinks for a moment, then his eyes light up. Ah, that's right. Puppets are an opponent that boasts the worst matchup for the Confucian family method. Even if one suppresses mystery with the Confucian family method, they are mechanical devices that run well as long as they only change the power unit. But that also means, conversely, if the subject handling those puppets is Mokli Hyana, the Confucian family method's weakness disappears. If I suppress heaven and earth's spiritual energy with the Confucian family method, and in the meantime have the puppets deal with the enemy, in theory, it is no different from being invincible. If it is up to her, she only wants the Nether Crossing Ship not to arrive at the Nether Ghost Realm. It is when Onjiam is worrying. Quong. Suddenly, there is a sound of something colliding with the prow of the Nether Crossing Ship. What is it? Onjiam quickly heads to the front of the Nether Crossing Ship, and she is shocked to the point of goosebumps. Some woman is clutching the bow of the Nether Crossing Ship, crawling up to the deck. Who are you? If you do not reveal your identity, you cannot come in. Quachajijik. Onjiam quickly activates the barrier of the Nether Crossing Ship, but the woman passes through as if such a barrier does not exist, and finally crawls up onto the deck of the Nether Crossing Ship. Mokli Hyana. Onjiam slips behind Mokli Hyana. Mokli Hyana uses all his strength to designate the range and activate the Confucian family method, and Onjiam shoots curses at the woman from outside the Confucian family method's range. But she pays no heed at all to either the Confucian family method or the curses, and slowly approaches Onjiam and Mokli Hyana. Mokli Hyana is terrified by this bizarre situation, and Onjiam, as if she finally notices something, quickly makes Mokli Hyana kneel and then kneels before the woman as well. Oh great one. Due to a certain matter, we came out to the outer sea from the vast cold realm, and we are on our way to the Nether Ghost Realm using the Nether Crossing Ship as a medium. Please forgive us for daring to not recognize thee. Onjiam. Sure, keep your head down. That being is a true immortal. At those words, shivers rise over Mokli Hyana's entire body, and he can only feel the bizarre woman who crawls up from the Sea of Chaos approaching in front of them, making wet splattering sounds. Because the presence of that bizarre woman is so terrifying, Mokli Hyana squeezes his eyes shut and calls Banta inwardly. Master Banta, we're not in danger, right? Even if we die by a true immortal's hand, you can pull us out, right? It is then, Banta. As if she reads Mokli Hyana's inner thoughts at once, the woman seems to look down at him for a moment, then questions Mokli Hyana. You are Sacred Master Banta's disciple? Heek. Yes. My master is Sacred Master Banta. Do you happen to know him? Thinking that this unknown true immortal knows Banta, Mokli Hyana speaks to the woman with a bright face. And the woman raises Mokli Hyana to his feet and flicks off something stuck to his body. Chwarik, chwack. As if she is brushing off the chaos itself from the outer sea, what she brushes off returns directly to the outside of the Nether Crossing Ship's barrier, back into the chaos of the outer sea. Only then, When Mokli Hyuna sees the woman's face, his face flushes for a moment. She is not on the level of Jiwa or Banta, but she has an appearance beautiful enough to make his heart pound for a moment. My name is Ju Su Ryan. Before I became a true immortal, I once received help from Banta. Seeing that connection guided you to me. It seems it is time to repay that favor. Thump, thump. Hearing the true immortal's true name, Mokli Hyuna breaks into a cold sweat with the feeling that his heart is being stopped. It seems the true immortal called Ju Su Ryan is showing consideration for him, as he does not die on the spot the moment he hears the name. But that name is far too heavy for Mokli Hyuna. You are a cultivator of the naming family method, which is why you seem to feel a little weighed down when you hear my name. When I part with you, I will properly make you forget my name. Do not feel too burdened. Ju Su Ryan strokes Mokli Hyuna and also helps on Jiam to her feet. Child who learned the ghost path method and divination. Long ago, after I received Banta's favor, I received a prophecy that if I meet his connection when I enter this chaos, I will repay that kindness to him. Divine and calculate whether Banta is in a situation of danger right now. Pardon. However, true immortal, in this sea of chaos, I cannot read any celestial energy. I will add strength to your authority. I am a ghost immortal who walks the ghost path, so it is more than possible. At those words, Jiam's face turns a little pale, but she nods for now. Understood. Then, and Mokli Hyuna puts on a slightly serious face and asks her, Excuse me, Lord True Immortal. What do you mean by my master being in danger? Exactly as it sounds. The fact that I, who received your master's favor, met a person who has a connection to him in this sea of chaos itself means danger has come upon your master. Therefore, I can repay your master's favor now. But do not worry. Whatever danger comes, I can more than block it. Come here. If this child calculates the danger that comes upon your master, I will use you as a medium and lend authority to him. At her words, Mokli Hyuna cannot help but walk toward her as if bewitched. Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain. In front of the purple gold realm. There, Banta sees a pure white peacock rising up inside an enormous taiji. The peacock, so huge it seems to cover the universe, lets out a snort like a bird's cry and opens its beak toward Banta. Normally, I should have resurrected before beautiful love and the fruit of yin and yang. But the fact that you are before me means that the fruit of yin and yang was again connected to your disciple, so you hurriedly took action. It has been a long time, Banta. Glass peacock, ignorant one. You tried once again to steal my disciple. Banta grinds his teeth and growls at the glass peacock. Glass peacock speaks to Banta in a languid voice. I have already said it, but taking your disciples was nothing but a coincidence. What can I do when you dress up your disciples so well in ideology, in conviction, and in appearance? Every single one is attractive, so after taking them, violating them in my embrace, I have no choice but to forcibly drag them past the sacred vessel stage and all the way up to the entering nirvana stage. This dog bastard. If you knew in the middle that they are my disciples, couldn't you have let them go? I'm saying, couldn't you have released them at the sacred vessel stage? In fierce intercourse, how can there be a middle? It is proper to finish it at the entering nirvana stage, right before death. Above all, Glass Peacock speaks to Banta in a voice that sounds like mocking. Being stuck in that place is, no matter how one looks at it, because of your own desire, is it not? Truly, you are a Taoist who cannot ascend because of a golden cushion. A golden cushion? Don't make me laugh. I can hope for that much, can I? 40 billion years. It has been 40 billion years. Even after 40 billion years, are you saying I still cannot leave this purple gold realm? Is it not simply you're at Magraha? When you had been a sacred master for 20 billion years, you could have seized the seat of wealth and become the wealth heavenly lord. But you endured in that seat for another 20 billion years until I awakened. One can only say it is because of your own stubbornness. Glass Peacock looks at Banta seriously and speaks. I insult you only because I want you to accept that insult and break your own frame and improve. Yet you do not break that frame at all, and instead keep it even more firmly. One full of desire. I know your vow is lofty, but it is excessive. Do you think countless others stepped on the stairs of cultivation in proper order because they do not know a method like yours? I only want to break free. Foolish. Do not try to fly while crawling, practice walking first. I've crawled my whole life. Even with crawling alone, I am faster than those who run. So how can it be that I cannot fly at once? It seems words are not enough. Glass Peacock smiles faintly and begins to swell their body. This shall be amusing. In celebration of resurrecting after 20 billion years, it will be fun to copulate with you as well. I will bring down the purple gold realm entirely. I will smash everything you cling to. You already cannot control your own desire, so I will forcibly make you fall. When Glass Peacock flaps their wings, the entire sun and moon heavenly domain shakes. As Banta faces the strange law of yin and yang Glass Peacock possesses, he feels an intense desire to become one with Glass Peacock. But Banta endures Glass Peacock's temptation with willpower and, with difficulty, forces out words. I cannot do that. I will carry my Tao through. I cannot let innocent living beings die. Foolish. Look at your purple gold realm. Your tears of blood have become a black sea and filled the body of the purple gold heavenly lord to the brim. Before long, the entire world will sink into your pain, and all living beings will go extinct. Sooner or later, the living beings of the purple gold realm will be destroyed, so cut off your attachment. Cool. Cuff. If only not for the sleep period. Banta grits his teeth and even brings out the 3 great ultimates to resist Glass Peacock's light. But Banta's body gradually becomes engulfed by that light and falls into lust and desire. Ah no. Banta grits his teeth. To break free from Glass Peacock, there are 2 ways. The first is to pull in the seat of the purple gold heavenly lord that he has compressed and stored in the monist domain. If he does so, he can push Glass Peacock back, but Banta's painstakingly built tower of 20 billion years will collapse. The second is to draw on his own power that is in a Raya domain, but likewise, that too will collapse the painstakingly built tower. But if he chooses neither, the purple gold realm will perish, and Banta will become Glass Peacock's immortal treasure, bound to have his mind melt for a span close to 10 million years. If only not for the sleep period. Banta trembles as he laments, but he feels agonizing conflict between stopping Glass Peacock and collapsing his painstakingly built tower. It is then Banta suddenly feels a familiar aura. A familiar power he feels through his disciple, Mythical. Someone who, long ago, after ascending to the purple gold realm, received his favor a few times and safely advanced all the way to true immortality. If even the memories of the previous life are included, a being whom even Banta and Glass Peacock must treat with honor is attempting to connect to Banta. Banta smiles and calls the name of an old connection from long ago. Long time no see, Jusu Ryan. Are you trying to help? It has been a while, Teacher Banta. Honestly, like the ignorant one says, I also think your vow is certainly excessive, but I am still rooting for you. And I also have a debt from the favor I received before, so I will help you. Jusu Ryan links with Banta. Glass Peacock also seems to notice the sign and lets out a snort. Foolish. Even if you were a judge in your previous life, in this life have you not only recovered up to upper immortal, and you are not even a heaven immortal. As a fellow earth immortal, by what method do you think you can resist me, who is close to an immortal beast king? Moreover, not even with your main body, but only by supporting power? Ahaha, the taste of doing it simultaneously with the former judge and Banta. I like it even better. And in the distant outer sea, Jusu Ryan smiles. You call me a fellow earth immortal, yet why do you forget our greatest authority? What? I will lend it to you, Teacher Banta. Receive it well. Warwick, Huarurik. On both of Banta's shoulders, enormous flames begin to surge upward. Oh, Glass Peacock's eyes gleam. True immortals are divided into 3 types: flower immortal, earth immortal, and heaven immortal. And each immortal has its own characteristic, and they are exactly like so. Flower immortals are clouds. Heaven immortals are winged garments. Earth immortals are flame emblems. The flame emblem that great immortal beasts possess surges over Banta's shoulders and combines the authority of countless histories. And Glass Peacock also snorts and, from their shoulder blades, raises a flame emblem. Have you forgotten that I too am an immortal beast? Kururu. But in the next moment, Banta's flame emblem wavers and begins to turn black, and Glass Peacock's gaze changes. Immortal beast authority. History projection. Jusu Ryan's laughter echoes out. Have you forgotten that in my previous life I died to someone? And from the moment I became an earth immortal and remembered my previous life, what? I have become able to project? Immediately after, Glass Peacock withdraws all the lust and desire draped over their eyes, turns completely serious, withdraws light and flame emblem, turns their back to Banta's black flame emblem and begins to flee madly. Borrowing Banta's body, Jusu Ryan begins to project into reality, as a history projection, the terrifying vicious technique that killed her in her previous life. Shwirik, Shwiririk. Something black begins to spin around Banta. Chapter 847. Side Story, Path of Immortal Cultivation 2. Kirik, Kiriririk. Darkness is sucked in. The entire universe resonates as if it is screaming. Centered on Banta, a sort of endless slaughter awakens within nothingness. Banta overcomes his fear, barely grips that sword, and in that moment, the sword begins to rotate. Shiriririk. A sound like a snake hissing spreads as vibration through the entire dimension, and in that moment, Patit. Darkness lights up all things and rips through space-time. True martial arts. Emptiness sword. Third move. The name of an ultimate art that not even great net immortals, never mind mortals, can properly perceive rings out in the void. Neither Glass Peacock, who turns their back and flees from it, nor Banta, who unfolds it in his hand, nor even Jusu Ryan, who recalled it once more and lent it, can steady the pounding emotions in their hearts. And finally, within the rotation, darkness bursts out as light. Light. I have to avoid it, but I am being sucked in. Glass Peacock does not confront it and tries to flee, but they are ultimately sucked into the vortex raised by the rotation of that bright light. Quadadudaduduck. The life force of an immortal beast is far stronger than even a heaven immortal's. Because they are divine spirits of life itself, their bodies are harder, tougher, and more elastic than anything else, and they never easily wither. They are the ones closest to true undying. Perhaps the one who made the immortal cultivation system did so, because, in the process of leading someone onto the path of an earth immortal, they wanted that someone to not die. But now, on that path of immortal cultivation, the great divine spirit who chose the pathway of the immortal beast and has the immortal beast king in their sight is, within that light, having their entire body shredded away so emptily. Immortal Beast Glass Peacock. The great immortal beast king candidate wears a hollow smile, and as they die with their whole body twisted and snapped, they quietly let out a single sentence. It seems connection still grants you a chance. Fine. I will sleep a little longer for now. Within that light, the essence of existence splits apart, but the opponent is Glass Peacock. They are the existence closest to the immortal beast king, and an existence with governing immortal in sight. Since they are practically at the level of the underworld's chief judge and deputy judge, even death cannot bind them that strongly. But this death will not be that long. Since this is a case where, after reviving once, I meet physical death again, if short I will open my eyes again in a few years, and if long I will open them again in a few 100 million years. When that time comes, I hope there is change in you. In the end, Glass Peacock cannot resist within the light that brightens the universe, and with their whole body twisted and snapped, their body collapses more and more violently as they die. Only after Glass Peacock completely disappears from the universe does Banta click his tongue and shake off from his body that terrifying surge of emptiness. Sorry, but by then, even if I do not change, my sleep period will have passed. So unless you become the immortal beast king, I can safely defend something like the Purple Gold Realm. If he uses the domain called the Purple Gold Realm, Banta is the strongest when it comes to defense. That's when it happens. Uff. Splurt. Banta vomits up a mouthful of black blood and staggers. Hihiok ugh. Jusu Ryan's flame emblem disappears from Banta, but Banta trembles all over and recalls the ominous technique he just unfolded with his own hand. Without even properly manifesting the original power, with only a projection that merely imitates the form, the killing intent corroded my soul this much. What he just unfolded is, quite literally, a feat that reaches the ultimate of killing. Even simply imitating it makes it feel like his reason is being corroded by that thick killing art. On top of that, Banta's body is also a problem. The backlash is strong too. For a while, I need to recuperate in Banta Castle, even if it was to drive out Glass Peacock. If Jusu Ryan raised the projection rate even a little more, my body would have burst and I would have died. At the power of that terrifying, ominous technique, Banta looks at his own hand that unfolded it. Cheek. From the erosion of killing intent and the influence of backlash, the hand that swung the sword is rotting away. Killing intent contaminates his soul and the inner spirit veins throughout his body, and the backlash twists the flow of bone, muscle, and life. That grip where the two combine is already turning necrotic. No matter how strong Banta's vitality is, it is an injury he cannot heal in a short time. Looks like I have to recuperate for about 1,000 years to suppress the killing intent, and then recuperate for 100,000 years to drive it all out. Healing my body comes after that. For a while, rebellions are going to be everywhere in the purple gold realm again. I have to do that exhausting political wrangling again. Banta shudders in disgust and starts heading back into the purple gold realm, and as he looks at his necrosing grip, he thinks, even just borrowing a projection for a moment left me like this, so how on earth did that guy do it? About 40 billion years ago, the Mythic Age, a time when the owners of light, the true masters of the immeasurable life Buddha religious order, had not yet declined. A person who, against the forces of light, restored two more ultimate techniques linked to the ominous technique Banta just used them personally as they went about, and waged war against the owners of light. Banta naturally cannot help but recall that person from the Mythic Age, looking at his own hand. To rise to a similar level as that person, I am still far away. Even if it is during the sleep period, the ultimate technique that person easily fired off while not even holding a seat, has given me, one who holds a seat, a backlash to this extent. Feeling the gap between himself and someone from the Mythic Age, Banta returns to Banta Castle. Splurt. Heek, are you alright? Mokli Hyuna asks after seeing Ju Su Ryan, who said she is lending strength to his master and transmitting something with his body as a medium, suddenly vomit up a mouthful of black blood. Ju Su Ryan slumps down in place, her face a little paler than before. Mokli Hyuna somehow gets the feeling that Ju Su Ryan's aura is reduced. Up until just now, she clearly seemed like some existence he cannot put into words, but somehow now, she looks like an existence at the Grand Perfection Star-Shattering stage. Ironically, the aura of the Grand Perfection Star-Shattering stage feels stronger than at true immortality. Is it because at the true immortal level we simply cannot perceive her? Your realm seems to have dropped. That is not all. As if even her personality has shifted strangely, Ju Su Ryan's way of speaking, which until now was relaxed, changes into a way of speaking that shows honorific politeness. Yes, what I just lent to teacher Banta takes quite a bit of strength just to project. They say that if you master the principle and can embody the intent inside it, you can use it sufficiently even at the upper immortal level. But I am only projecting it, after all. Ju Su Ryan staggers to her feet and speaks to Mokli Hyuna and Onjiam. If it is possible, may I stay aboard the Nether Crossing ship for a while and recuperate? If it is about 100,000 years, I seem able to recover my energy again and return to my original realm. Yes, of course it is possible, but this Nether Crossing ship is on its way using the Nether Ghost realm as its coordinates. Might it not be that Lord Immortal has business and is staying in this sea of chaos? Even if you go to the Nether Ghost realm with us, is that all right? Ho ho, please do not worry. Ju Su Ryan smiles faintly and starts to explain, and Mokli Hyuna briefly has the stray thought of, why does this woman also go ho ho? A few 10 billion years ago, the reason I stopped raising my realm and entered this outer sea was because I wanted to escape the fear of the past projection I just lent to teacher Banta, to the terror of that ominous technique, and the wound in my heart I received in that moment. I do not know the details, but are you saying you spent tens of billions of years in the chaos to overcome that fear? At Mokli Hyuna's question, Ju Su Ryan's expression turns bitter. It is probably because the ultimate technique I lent to teacher Banta is the technique that killed me in my previous life. If I cannot escape the fear that technique gives, then even if I raise my realm, someday I may go mad from a mental split. So I set my body adrift in this sea of chaos, which can be called perfect stillness, and in repentant enlightenment I pursued to drive out that fear for several 10 billion years. And finally, today, by lending that to Mr. Banta, I realize that I have overcome the fear to some extent. Ju Su Ryan, atop the Nether Crossing ship, looks out at the endless world of chaos. A world like constantly undulating ash-gray smoke. The outer sea. Mokli Hyuna cannot even dare to grasp what kind of fear it is, enough that she has to overcome it by doing secluded cultivation in this gloomy, unpleasant world. How terrifying a technique is it that she has to drive out fear of it for tens of billions of years? Whether she reads that thought, or whether she is simply quick to catch on, She speaks to Maklihyana. The technique is indeed a frightening technique, but the fear toward the existence that unfolded it is bigger. If you are not someone who directly witnessed that person with your own eyes, you cannot understand. Pardon? If it is the existence that unfolded it, do you mean the existence that killed the elder true immortal in your previous life? Ho, that is right. But from here on, please do not be curious. It is knowledge you must be at least a true immortal to bear. Even after becoming a true immortal, it is wisdom you can only learn without great difficulty when your rank is at least a great net immortal. Eek, I understand. Maklihyana quickly nods at the true immortal's words. Ho, you are a child who listens well. Anyway, since you let me nourish Yang for a while on the Nether Crossing ship, I will get some sleep in the Nether Crossing ship's ghost den room. If there is something you need, or something you are curious about, please come find me. I can give you some basic things as a lodging fee. In that case, oh true immortal. Ongeum pleads in front of Ju-Su Ryan. When can we arrive at the Nether Ghost Realm? Alright, come to think of it, mortal beings cannot freely leave the outer sea, can they? Please do not worry. Woo. When Ju-Su Ryan snaps her fingers, the Nether Crossing ship is seized by some powerful attraction force, and it begins to move quickly toward that place. As for the Nether Ghost Realm, I too have a connection of my own. I linked the attraction force of the Nether Ghost Realm and the Nether Crossing ship, so we will arrive steadily within 5 to 10 years. Only then does Ongeum's expression relax, and she bows to Ju-Su Ryan. Thank you, true immortal. For the 100,000 years you complete your recuperation, I will serve you with devotion. Do not be so formal. I plan to be almost asleep entirely for the 100,000 years, so it is better if you treat me as if I am not here. Then, everyone, my energy is too depleted, so I will quickly rest in a suitable place. Then, I take my leave. Pat it. After finishing speaking, Ju-Su Ryan yawns with a tired face, and just like that, she melts into the shadow of the Nether Crossing ship and disappears. By the way, Ongeum, what is the ghost guest room? Regressor. It is my first time hearing it, and it's not even a VIP room. TL/N. Ghost guest room and VIP room have the same Hangul. It is a ghost path dimension inside the Nether Crossing ship, meant to serve powerful ghost kings or great existences. It is directly connected to the Nether Crossing ship's power source, and anyone who has not learned the ghost path method cannot enter it. So just think of it as a place you can't get in. I see. By the way, you look like you're in a good mood. Well, it's like I found a way to return home from a vast sea. Anyway, Maklihyana. Ongeum flicks Maklihyana on the forehead and speaks. Hurry up and refine the acceptance at Fate's end axis. We have a lot to do. We also have to turn the Nether Crossing ship into a mechanical warship, and when we get to the Nether Ghost Realm, it would be good for you to take ghost souls as your citizens too. Ghosts terribly love the bodies of puppets. If you can supply the bodies of puppets steadily, you can gain a considerable number of people, you know? From now on, your path of immortal cultivation will be wide open, so hurry and start cultivating. He got it. Then I'm off. Maklihyana quickly goes into his quarters inside the Nether Crossing ship and prepares to refine the acceptance at Fate's end axis. At the same time, Maklihyana smiles as he looks out beyond the Nether Crossing ship's window. The weakness of the Confucian family method is gone, and I also gained the true meaning of the naming family method. And to cultivate the canvas of myriad forms and star genesis, I also need a true immortal I know. And that condition is met too. Good. All the conditions are properly filled. If it goes like this, truly, he will be able to rescue his older sister Li Xiaoa, uncover the suspicious secrets of the one chi of the primordial chaos religious order, and escape the grasp of an evil divinity. Good. My path of immortal cultivation starts now. Thus, Maklihyana raises his fist toward the sky with a voice full of hope. Vast cold realm. Human race territory. Kururung. Quajajijik. A crack forms in space, and someone falls to the location of the human race restoring their territory. Kururung. It is Li Xiaoa. Wrapped in glass true fire, she looks around her surroundings. Ongeum. Hyana, where are you two? Keying. Li Xiaoa's eyes red celestial energy, and she grits her teeth. They're not here? Did they already run from the vast cold realm to another world? In that short amount of time, they couldn't have gotten the acceptance at Fate's end axis, so what happened? Ongeum, that bitch. Baduduk. Li Xiaoa looks around with the veins standing out on her face. It is then. Lee Seoa suddenly discovers that, in one of the places being restored in the human race territory, several statues are erected. This is, even if she excludes the unfamiliar names Han and Zhou Yun she sees for the first time. The names on the remaining statues are far too familiar to her. Saintess Ongeum and Darkness Queen Mokli Hyena. Below the statues, an explanation from the maker is written, saying they left statues to honor the 4 great people who saved the vast cold realm. And Lee Seoa places her hand on Mokli Hyena's statue and half opens her eyes. Kirarik. Taiji whirls in her eyes, and through Mokli Hyena's statue, she comes to realize something. I see. On Jiam and Hyena, it looks like you both had a fortuitous encounter in this world, and the direction you head toward is the Nether Ghost Realm. She pulls out Mokli Hyena's statue from that spot. Badudaduk. Hey, what are you doing? You dare damage the hero's statue. In the human race territory, human race cultivators approach her, but Lee Seoa shakes them off, flies high into the sky, and looks down at the human race territory. The Mythic Age. The trace left behind when the person called the Sword Devil, who lived in the human race territory, faced the Ghost Mother. According to her master Jin Younghoon's words, that trace still remains in the human race territory as terrain. And those words are true. Aya. Across the entire human race territory, several sword scars still remain, in the form of enormous valleys. I see. This is the Sword Devil's sword will. It is one of the fortuitous encounters her master Jin Younghoon said she can obtain if she someday goes to the vast cold realm. Say that. Within that sword, Lee Seoa can perfect her own sword will even more. Soon, when she turns her gaze toward the human race cultivators who chase after her, they are instantly subdued in spirit by her sword will, blankly frozen in place. Right after, having gathered her enlightenment through sword will, Lee Seoa opens her eyes wide. Say that. I see it. The path to the peak star of crystal glass to treading sea. I must melt the Sword Devil's sword will into my own. Kaduduk. She grips space and tears it open. Sword will dwells in her hand and instantly cracks the dimension. The next time we meet, I will definitely save you from that evil witch of the infinite life Buddha religious order. Hyena. Using Mokli Hyena's statue as a medium, Lee Seoa crosses dimensions once again. Thus, the strange chase of siblings trying to save each other is only now beginning on the path of immortal cultivation. Chapter 848. Side Story. Employment Heavenly Lord 1. An immortal art is a secret art that changes the world through personality and will. Therefore, for gods and governing immortals who become immortal arts themselves and refine themselves to the level of a mantra, personality can already be said to be, in itself, a single law and an immortal art. Among governing immortal, if a being is exceptionally strong or has accumulated many years, the very concept of a split soul disappears for them, and even a soul that is split stays always connected, like fingertips or the extremities of the body. But because of that, if the main body becomes busy, the split souls, what you could call the body's extremities, tend to develop slight problems in their personality. For governing immortals, who are aggregates of immortal arts, it means the power and will that go into the immortal arts are distributed differently, depending on priority. And at this time, while the Crystal King, Star Genesis Supreme Deity So Eunhyun's main body in Mount Sumru directly weaves fate and connection so that no innocent victims arise from the proceedings of divine beings, and while he weaves causality so that if innocent victims arise within their fates, they are definitely repaid. Because the busy Seo Eunhyun's will and concentration focuses on the main body, a slight flaw inevitably appears in the split soul on Earth. One iced Americano is ready. Yes, thank you. Seo Eunhyun takes the Americano with slightly vacant eyes and heads toward the cafe entrance. Recently, because his main body stirred up things on that side, Seo Eunhyun on Earth, as a split body, is inevitably in a slightly foggy state. On top of that, Ji-Hwa, who took over Oh Hyeseo's body, left the company, and recently Kong Min he also quit, saying she is going to graduate school, so working all night became Seo Eunhyun's everyday routine. As a result, recently Seo Eunhyun's mental state is not very good. Coffee again. It's always coffee. When will I get back to an ordinary daily life? Of course, by Summer Mountain standards, even this is a sufficiently ordinary daily life, so Seo Eunhyun's complaining can be called happy complaining. Because he knows that, he can't truly get angry, but small irritations keep piling up in the split body. I need something to let off steam. Should I use a day of vacation? But what does one day of rest do? Then I have to work that much more for the one day I rested. I want to quit the company too and rest for a while somewhere quiet. Seo Eun-hyun walks out of the cafe with his coffee in a daze, thinking that. Just then, clunk. Seo Eun-hyun suddenly realizes the door is not opening. Why won't the door open? Seo Eun-hyun pushes the door a few more times, but it does not budge. Then the words, pull, catch Seo Eun-hyun's eye, but Seo Eun-hyun only grows angry. Pull. This is ridiculous. A huge franchise cafe hangs up a horrible sign like, pull. Is this something a Korean can possibly accept? At this very moment, with minor stress already piled up in the split body, and with consciousness concentrated on the main body so that a flaw appeared in personality, Seo Eun-hyun, with all his strength, rages at the absurdity of the word, pull, and tightens his grip. For a Korean, there is no option called pulling. Do not stop me. I am a son of Korea. For a proud son of Korea, there can be no choice other than push. Seo Eun-hyun breathes a faint energy into the door. At the same time, faint sword energy blows into the cafe entrance door, and the doorstop that prevents it from being pushed open from the inside starts to grind as it gets shoved out. It is a top-class application method, to the point that if a junior like Lee Seo-ah who learned the crystal glass to treading sea saw it, they would blurt out in admiration. Oh, entrance door, you shall permit. Push. Quadaduk. With a small sound, the doorstop is cut off as it is, and Seo Eun-hyun succeeds in pushing out through the entrance door that says, pull. Seo Eun-hyun glances back with a refreshed expression and sips his coffee. Now, people other than me will also be able to push their way out comfortably without caring about the horrible word, pull. Just as Seo Eun-hyun says, everyone can leave comfortably while pushing the door. Because it was something done in an instant, nobody even suspects him, and only the cafe owner looks at the door as if something is strange and merely mutters, why does that push open? Seo Eun-hyun turns back toward the company and takes another sip of coffee. Someday, the cafe door will return to pull again, because the doorstop is going to appear again. But that is fine, because I will change it back to push again. A person's will does not end. A person's heart never dies, either. Nobody can stop a proud son of Korea from pushing a door open and walking out. And Seo Eun-hyun's overtime is not going to end, either. Fuck. Because he wasted his energy on something useless, Seo Eun-hyun feels fatigue come over him, and with tired eyes, he trudges toward the company. I can go home. That day, fortunately, is not an all-nighter but ordinary overtime. Seo Eun-hyun comes down to the underground parking lot, leans against his beloved, his used Sonata, and mutters with hollow eyes. But does going home even mean anything? Tomorrow is probably an all-nighter anyway. Isn't it better to just sleep at the company, or at a sauna nearby? Has it been a long time since I saw Yun's face? But since I'm stuck right next to her with the main body, I guess it doesn't matter. Seo Eun-hyun sighs as he opens the car door with hollow eyes. It's been a long time since he saw Kim Yun. Of course, by the main body standard, it's no different from being right next to her, so it's not a problem. But by the split body standard, Kim Yun also quit and became a civil servant after passing the civil service exam. So lately their schedules misaligned, and they can't even meet. I just want to disappear. That's when it happens. Thud. Someone strikes the back of Seo Eun-hyun's head hard, and he hears a lewd, snickering laugh. I am going to grant that wish. Yuk. Before he passes out, Seo Eun-hyun closes his eyes as he sees a silver-haired someone binding him with green tape in a sly way. October 28th. The tail end of autumn, when it starts to get cold. Late at night, in SJD's underground parking lot, Seo Eun-hyun gets grabbed by a silver-haired weirdo and bundled up and kidnapped. When Seo Eun-hyun opens his eyes, what he sees is a familiar ceiling. This is. For some reason, he feels languid and weak. Seo Eun-hyun raises his arm with difficulty and suddenly realizes his hand has become small. Are you awake, Eun-hyun? As Seo Eun-hyun comes to his senses, the door opens and he sees Ji-hwa coming out while drying her hair. It looks like she just washed up. No, what is this? What do you mean, what is this? Lately, you've been using overtime as an excuse and you don't even meet me, let alone Kim Yun. For Kim Yun, she's stuck to you with the main body so she can shrug it off. But what about me? I'm living here, holding my breath on this tiny patch of land in my main body, so shouldn't you compensate me for that? It's only been about 3 weeks since I saw you. Seo Eun-hyun is about to say, "Can a great divinity like you not endure 3 weeks?" But Jiwa's gaze is not normal, so he decides to shut his mouth. "Are you truly crazy? You leave me to sleep alone for 3 whole weeks, and you can't feel even the slightest pang of conscience." "No, but Jiwa, you also seemed really satisfied with life on Earth. And if you come to Mount Sumeru with your main body, you can also stay with my main body, but you're the one who refused." "What did you say? Don't be ridiculous. If I go to Mount Sumeru with my main body, I'll have to work. As a Radiance 8 Immortal, I already did overflowing amounts of work while living, so now I don't need to work anymore." Jiwa finishes speaking proudly, then looks at Seo Eun-hyun and continues. "Anyway, that aside, you also need to rest. Nothing is good in excess, and what is so good about that human world job that you keep clinging to it? Even if you leave that kind of company, you can still eat well and live well enough. No, because connections remain on Earth, there's something like social scrutiny. Then you should also become a civil servant, like Kim Yun's split body. Civil service doesn't really fit me. TSK, you keep making excuse after excuse, so this why I brought you here. From now on, for 6 months, work is forbidden." "What? Then what about my social relationships? I put your illusion on a puppet and sent it to work in your place. Other than Kim Yun, nobody is going to recognize it." Seo Eun-hyun is briefly flustered and parts his lips as if to speak, but when he thinks it over carefully, he arrives at the thought that it actually seems good. Well, anyway, what is the reason you made my body so young? I thought about it carefully. Since the main body in Mount Sumeru is concentrating, you have a flaw in your personality right now. On top of that, because of overtime, even some toxic energy is rising. A flaw in my personality? I'm perfectly fine. Is a perfectly fine guy someone who goes around smashing a cafe door in broad daylight? Smashing? How is a proud son of Korea supposed to endure? Pull. Wait, how did you know what I did in the daytime? We agreed to restrict our consciousness domains on Earth. I just disguised myself and followed you secretly, so do not worry. Anyway, that kind of trivial thing isn't important. You are in a state where a flaw in your personality is showing. The main body is working too, and in that state, at least you as the split body should be happy. It isn't good if both sides are crazy about work. This is advice from a former Radiance 8 Immortal who once governed the world. It means it is fine for you to let at least a split body play to your heart's content without thinking. Seo Eun-hyun makes a somewhat convinced face and nods. "So the reason you made me into a child's body and kidnapped me is what, exactly? What else would it be? If you stay in an adult body, because of social scrutiny and whatnot, you can't return to a child's heart and play happily. It means you should go back to a child's body, play happily, and rest. Even if my body is a child's, my consciousness is at the original level, so doesn't that make it meaningless? Do not worry. For you, a connection parrot isn't the happiest thing forming new connections." "What do you mean I'm a connection parrot?" "Gal. Anyway, I already found the best way to play for someone like you." "What is it?" Seo Eun-hyun feels a strangely ominous feeling and tries to get up, but Jiwa grips Seo Eun-hyun's shoulder so he can't run, then lifts something beside him. That's right this. A uniform made to fit a child's body. No, it is clothes that should be called a kindergarten uniform. An English kindergarten. From now on, you will go to an English kindergarten together with your Nuna. Meet new and cute connections, and set down your brain and reason. You can rest happily. Wait, Jiwa. Kindergarten? What are you talking about? At my age, kindergarten is, no, more importantly, you probably don't even have money saved up. How are you going to send me to kindergarten? English kindergartens are expensive these days. Do not worry. How expensive can kindergarten be? More than anything, because I have quite a bit of money saved up while gathering loot. Money is not a problem. Jiwa lunges at Seo Eun-hyun with a delighted face, smacking her lips as she changes Seo Eun-hyun into the kindergarten uniform. Finally, I get to see you wearing this. No, I get to see you comfortably put down suffering and rest. This Nuna is happy. What did you just say? And why are you drooling? Slurp. Maybe it is because I didn't eat breakfast. That is not what matters. Don't resist, and change clothes obediently. Afterward, Seo Eun-hyun gets his clothes changed over and over by Jiwa. Boom. Starting the next day, Seo Eun-hyun gets put on the kindergarten shuttle bus Jiwa signed him up for, and he commutes to kindergarten. Thinking about Seo Eun-hyun's cute appearance that she watched all night, Ji-hwa happily sees Seo Eun-hyun off in front of the house. Seo Eun-hyun stares at Ji-hwa past the school bus window with a blank expression, and Ji-hwa waves at him with a beaming smile. A little later, only after the school bus gets far away does Ji-hwa notice something strange. Eek! Only then does Ji-hwa realize what she has done. Wait, if I send Seo Eun-hyun to kindergarten, he can't be with me. Faced with the horrible truth, she couldn't notice because she focused only on changing Seo Eun-hyun's clothes. Ji-hwa collapses right there and can only scream. Kwa. No, this can't be. A drastic countermeasure is necessary. Chapter 849, Side Story, Employment Heavenly Lord, 2. If she sends Seo Eun-hyun to kindergarten, she can dress Seo Eun-hyun in kindergarten uniform. But if she actually sends Seo Eun-hyun to kindergarten, she can't see what Seo Eun-hyun looks like. Is this what they call a contradiction where if I hold the sword, I can't embrace him, and if I put down the sword, I can't protect him? Ji-hwa chews on her fingernails as she begins to dig into how to solve this contradiction. And at last, Ji-hwa opens her eyes wide and gains an enlightenment of how she has to solve it. Can't I just peek? It is a very simple method. After wrapping herself up tightly, she goes to Seo Eun-hyun's English kindergarten, climbs up the building's outer wall, and starts secretly peeking into the classroom Seo Eun-hyun enters. Such a genius method. She is very satisfied as she spies on Seo Eun-hyun from the building's outer wall. However, as you would expect, a criminal who hangs off an outer wall to peek into a kindergarten cannot help but stand out. In not even 3 minutes, she gets caught by security and ends up being chased off. This method won't work either. Ji-hwa does not want to commit a crime. Even if she has gained a mortal body and is living on Earth, she is a former Radiance 8 Immortal who once upheld justice. Although she has relinquished the position of the 8 Immortals, her heart toward justice is still firm. Right, instead of peeking in a way that stands out, I'll peek from the building across the way. But unfortunately, when she tries to watch Seo Eun-hyun from a nearby building, that also stands out, and there is no suitable spot. Utility poles and signboards block her view, and so on. In the end, Ji-hwa lets out a deep sigh, goes up to the rooftop of a building a bit farther away, and looks down at Seo Eun-hyun's kindergarten. This spot is the best. I can look at every window of the kindergarten, and there is no worry of getting caught by someone. She finds the best spot, but there is one problem. No matter what, unless something special happens, even Ji-hwa cannot easily break the promise to restrict her power on Earth with Seo Eun-hyun as the main condition. So now, with the distance becoming too great, she has run into the problem that she cannot spy on the inside of the kindergarten with a mortal's eyesight. Kwa. Damn it. Why can't I see Seo Eun-hyun? This can't be happening. Driven mad by this tragic reality, Ji-hwa stomps her feet and begins to search for a solution quickly. I am the goddess of war. I am the king of weapons that brings victory. This time too, I will win. I will never lose. Gritting her teeth, she searches the internet, and at last she finds the perfect product. Found it, a telescope. To solve this difficult problem, Ji-hwa orders, through direct overseas purchase, a top-class telescope that costs several million won, several $1,000s, and a bugging device, and smacks her lips. Although this makes the bank account balance she has been saving up and putting away become completely empty, the game currency and ultra-rare items she has piled up in the game are still left in full. So if she just sells those, Ji-hwa can earn several million won again. Good, this solves it. It will be delivered tomorrow. So if I just wait one day, then starting tomorrow, I can see Seo Eun-hyun in the morning and at night too. Ji-hwa laughs slyly and heads to her home, looking forward to the hope of a happy tomorrow. That evening, Seo Eun-hyun gets dropped off in front of Ji-hwa's house and clicks his tongue. Kindergarten, it's not bad to live while setting my brain aside. Sure enough, after taking out rationality and playing to his heart's content as he returned to childlike innocence, his mental strength seemed to be recovering. However, it is still awkward. But the place I go when kindergarten ends is Ji-hwa's house. It's strange. Seo Eun-hyun arrives at Ji-hwa's house, enters the password, and goes inside. I'm back, Ji-hwa. And after entering the house, Seo Eun-hyun notices that the atmosphere inside the room is somehow strange. Tack, 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 tack. From deeper inside the room, he hears the sound of something being struck again and again, and he can see very gloomy intent sweeping around. Ji-hwa? Seo Eun-hyun goes into Ji-hwa's room that gives off that gloomy intent, sticks his head in a little, and soon comes to see something tremendous. Ji-hwa? wearing an aluminum hat with a face that looks like her soul has left, is pounding the keyboard like she is insane. Seo Eun-hyun knows that she likes games. However, her current appearance is quite strange. What she has up on the screen is not a game screen, but a news screen. The title of the news article is as follows. Breaking news. In a large-scale hacking attack on UCN companies, Life Creation Online, all users' currency and items were deleted by the hackers. Life Creation Online is the name of the game Ji-hwa enjoys the most, and it is also her biggest way of making money. And it seems that all the currency and items in that game got hacked and deleted. Ji-hwa blankly puts something up on another screen and is pressing refund like crazy, but on that screen, only a window that says refund unavailable keeps popping up. From the look of it, she seems to have bought something worth several million won, but it does not seem refundable. Ji-hwa. Seo Eun-hyun clicks his tongue as if he feels sorry for the situation where all of Ji-hwa's efforts have blown away, and he speaks to her. It is unfortunate, but he has to bring her to her senses. Don't be too heartbroken. Items and wealth, you can gather them again, can't you? Even if it all became zero, if you accumulate it up again. Kaiwoyaf. It's the dirty lizard race bastard scheme. However, Ji-hwa cannot accept reality and only screams. Ji-hwa, come to your senses. No. If it becomes like this, to send you to kindergarten. I have to get a job. Screaming at the dreadful fact that she has to work, she starts rolling around on the floor, and Seo Eun-hyun sighs and begins to comfort her. Getting a job isn't hard. I'll help you. Let's definitely try job hunting before the kindergarten tuition payment due date. I have to job hunt. Me? You're telling me to do that thing called interview and fart out flattery while begging mortals to pick me. Ji-hwa trembles as if the world turns pitch black, foaming at the mouth as she grabs Seo Eun-hyun from the floor. Seo Eun-hyun sighs and begins to calm Ji-hwa, who falls into a panic. Although she sometimes shows a weak side, she is strong. She is the goddess of war and victory, so she should be able to do something like getting a job easily. For now, let's calm Ji-hwa down. Seo Eun-hyun indulges Ji-hwa's tantrum and believes she can become self-reliant. A month passes. Make me ramen. Ji-hwa. A whole month passed, but you're still not employed. Seriously. Someone has to hire me for me to get a job, or not, okay? Stop nagging and just cook. You said that last week too, and I hear you went on a stabbing spree at the interview site. Do you even intend to get employed? Seriously. Do I have to cook? I'm sorry, Ji-hwa. Please spare me from you cooking. Seo Eun-hyun sighs at Ji-hwa's arrogant attitude, moves his small body, and quickly cooks ramen. Ji-hwa is the god of war and victory, but she has never properly learned earth cooking, so whenever she cooks, she goes to war with the ingredients and turns them into a mess. Her cooking is the kind you must absolutely never eat. Does Ji-hwa even have any intention of getting employed? With the tuition payment date approaching, Seo Eun-hyun only feels regretful. If Ji-hwa can't pay the kindergarten tuition, I can't keep going either. Then what can he do? Seo Eun-hyun also has to return to work. Is my rest as a kindergartner over with this? Although it seems Ji-hwa is also searching in her own way, with her personality, calmly taking an interview seems close to impossible. From the start, it's impossible for her, who was born with an innate noble status and fate, to interview at Immortal's company and calmly answer interview questions. From what Seo Eun-hyun has heard, it's already been 7 times that, when they only asked what she is good at or asked about hobbies at the interview site, she said they are taking her for a toy, pulled a sword out of her mouth, did a sword dance, and got chased out. Today or tomorrow is probably my last kindergarten life. Seo Eun-hyun lets out a short sigh, boards the kindergarten bus, and arrives at his kindergarten, New Spring Kindergarten. Hello. Everyone, the friends who came early have free time until first period starts, so please play with toys. Together with his friends, Seo Eun-hyun plays during free time before class starts, riding a rocking horse and throwing his worries away. That's when it happens. Seo Eun-hyun suddenly sees the principal teacher and several other teachers gathering in one place and discussing something seriously. What's going on? The teachers go into the principal's office and hold an important discussion. Feeling curious, Seo Eun-hyun eavesdrops beside the principal's office, and he gets to hear a strange story. A rival English kindergarten opened in the building directly across from us. Those people have neither business ethics nor morals to build a kindergarten right across from us so blatantly. What do we do, principal? I hear that the English kindergarten over there is a very long-established kindergarten. It seems they teach not only English, but also French, German, Hindi, Russian, Chinese, and even Sanskrit. On top of that, it seems the tuition is even cheaper than ours. If that kindergarten starts aggressive promotion, losing the children will happen in an instant. Everyone, please think of a solution. If we also lower the tuition a bit. Gal, lower tuition, you say? Drag that wicked one off to the hippo class. Principal, please forgive me. I absolutely did not have that intention. Seo Eun-hyun feels puzzled as he listens to the adults' conversation coming from inside the principal's office. Cheaper tuition and a better kindergarten, and it opened in the building across the street overnight? Is that even possible? If it's true, if I tell Ji-hwa and go to a cheaper kindergarten, wouldn't it reduce her burden? And then, as Seo Eun-hyun looks at the building across the street through the kindergarten window, his complexion cannot help but rot. The other kindergarten that took up place in front of New Spring Kindergarten. The name of that kindergarten is Silver Sword Kindergarten. And on the kindergarten signboard, there is a mark of a huge silver snake biting its tail. No, what in the world is that? At Ji-hwa's behavior of choosing to open a business instead of getting a job, Seo Eun-hyun is left only dumbfounded. Shin Young-man, the principal of New Spring Kindergarten, fumes and seethes with indignation at Silver Sword Kindergarten's behavior that has no business ethics. I have to drive that kindergarten out no matter what. How is there no way? Just as there cannot be two tigers on one mountain. Two English kindergartens cannot coexist in one neighborhood. Just then, after gathering all the kindergarten teachers and holding an emergency countermeasure committee meeting, the kindergarten phone rings, and Shin Young-man quickly puts on a business smile and answers the phone. Being enraged at shameless behavior is one thing, but as phone calls that come into the kindergarten are, 100 times out of 100, parents, she has to greet with a smile when she has to greet with a smile. Yes, hello, this is the New Spring Kindergarten Principal's office. How may I? This is Yang Ji-hwang, the principal of Silver Sword Kindergarten. Shin Young-man's expression hardens, and from beyond the receiver, a clear voice strikes his eardrums. One mountain cannot have two tigers living on it. Waiting to see which kindergarten the children and parents of this region choose is too long and tedious. Instead, how about we settle it between ourselves? What do you mean? We put the children of this region on the line, and we determine who truly has the qualification to be this region's English kindergarten. I mean a one-on-one duel between principals. Shin Young-man hangs up the phone. They're more thoroughly insane than I thought.